Good.
Good to go. Ready or not.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order. April 16th, 2024. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
The United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good morning, everyone. We do have a quorum present with all 5 commissioners in attendance today. First order of business, commissioners, it's been brought to my attention that we do need to amend the agenda with the removal of a couple items under the public hearing section under tab A. I believe it is going to be items 2 and 3, which are the SAC wireless applications. I believe both of those were denied at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting last week. So they withdrawn those and will be coming back at a later date, as I understand it. So with the removal of those, if there's no questions, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Got a stacked agenda before us today, commissioners. I'm going to try and hold the line as best I can. So we're out of here before 6 tonight. But the first order of business is a few public hearings from the Planning and Zoning Commission today under tab A. First being the approval of resolution 2404Z001, a conditional use permit for fireworks as requested by Mike Kimberling with Sky Thunder LLC. With us this morning is Land Use Director Eric Bingham. I'll hand it over to Eric. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. So the first hearing is, and just to note that Mr. Kimberling is online on Zoom. The applicant with Sky Thunder LLC, the 17-acre parcel out located by Point of Rocks. The address is 11 Halter and Flick Street, and it'll actually be located in an existing structure on the property used to house Jolly Jack's fireworks, and the current zoning is commercial. Fire District 1 is the responding agency. As far as the location map goes, this just kind of shows you the location. There's Point of Rocks, some mixed zoning out there. We have some commercial, which is the location of where the fireworks stand's going. You have some MH, mobile home. You've got some residential zoning out there, and then some commercial recreational services where the convenience store is located at the site. This is the location of the building. And just for your information, this site has been subject of fireworks stand for quite a long period of time. Then it changed some uses and went into a laundromat, and then now is being proposed back to a fireworks stand. So it'll have good highway access right off of Interstate 80. So in accordance with 74, the zoning resolution, they were required to get a conditional use permit for a fireworks stand. And they'll also be subject to yearly inspections. The big thing with fireworks stands is that they meet the International Fire Code requirements. And we used to require yearly renewals and went to just a conditional use permit with an unspecified time period based on that we could do yearly inspections. That's really the big issue, is just making sure that they're meeting the IFC requirements. Here's a location showing you the different, as required by statute and our regulations, the posting, and then the actual site and then where the stand will be. We have 9 criteria for conditional uses. They got to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. This will provide additional economic opportunities for the retail sales work of consumer fireworks along I-80. Staff does not foresee incompatibility with adjacent properties. And as far as compatible with existing allowable uses, you have multiple retail uses going on the property, so it'll fit in just nicely with the other uses on the property. Has adequate public facilities and also provisions for maintenance and use. Has a water and sewer system out there. Even though it's a private sewer system, private water system, it is regulated by EPA. Minimum adverse effects on the natural environment, we do not see any. As far as undue traffic congestion associated with the use, we don't foresee that either. There's ample parking on site. And also, as far as public health and safety and welfare, we will be doing yearly inspections to assure that the IFC requirements are met. And as far as conforming to the zoning resolution, that's why we're here today. This requires a conditional use permit. These just show you the different standards associated with it. Don't need to be conditions of the permit, just that they're pretty straightforward. Don't want smoking on site for obvious reasons and not discharging them on the premise. We've had issues in the past with other stands doing that. But haven't been an issue for the last couple of years. So as far as code enforcement comments, business will require IFC inspection. CenturyLink just stated they have a copper wire running near the property. Tesoro Northwest Pipeline, just stating they have an 8-inch line near proximity of the building. West Side Water and Sewer, no comments. It's outside their district. City of Rock Springs, not within city jurisdiction. So staff recommends approval of Resolution 2404-001, conditional use permit for fireworks with the following condition. Conditional use is for fireworks and is personal to the applicant. And at the April 10th, 2024, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5-0 to recommend approval of the request. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate that overview. Any questions for staff on this conditional use permit? Commissioners? Any questions for the applicant? If not, we do need to open up a public hearing. So at this time, we will open up just that for the approval of Resolution 2404-001, a conditional use permit for fireworks as requested by Mike Kimberling with Sky Thunder LLC. If there's anyone online or in the audience that would like to speak to this conditional use permit, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
move to approve the resolution 24-04-0-01 for the approval of a conditional use permit for fireworks as requested by Mike Kimberling, Sky Thunder LLC.
You have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Eric. Moving right along with the removal of items 2 and 3 with the amended agenda, that's going to take us right along into item 4, which I guess is actually item 2 now, under tab A, which is the approval of Resolution 2404-004, a zoning map amendment from agriculture to mineral development requested by Pacific Soda LLC. With us this morning is our GIS planner, Megan Toomer. Hand it over to you. Good morning, Megan.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. This public hearing is for zone map amendment for the facility location in which Pacific Soda is proposing to operate the new Trona facility. Property owners that we're dealing with for this location is Rock Springs Grazing Association and the BLM. We're looking at approximately 1,649 acres located just north of the I-80 interchange where the Peru cutoff exit is at. Currently, the property is zoned agricultural with small portions being within the growth management area and the highway overlay area. Infrastructure that's currently existing is, of course, nearest public roads, Wyoming Highway 374 and 372, and of course, Interstate 80, and Green River is the fire responding agency. Here is the zoning location map. As you can see, right off the interstate there, and there is just this small, tiny, it's about 12 acres that is located within the growth management area and the highway overlay area. After a few discussions with Eric on this, it's something that staff does not find to be significant enough to impose any extra conditions concerning the zone map amendment. Something that we're hoping to look at the growth management regulations and hopefully corral back into where it's a little more in applicable areas. So we're not dealing with little strips of things like this in the future. Here's just a brief aerial that you can see. It's right next to, on the south side, it has the Union Pacific Railroad running right through there, and pretty vacant land right now. I've been working with Wesley Slaw, and he and his team are all available on Zoom as well if you have any questions. And this was the map that was submitted with their application. And one thing that staff was grateful to see was the natural gas pipelines that were existing in the area, as those were some of the comments that came in when we put this out for agency comment. So glad to hear that they're already in communications with the appropriate agencies on that. Here's an overview map that was submitted. Up here is where the facility location is at off of Peru Hill. And then down here, a little bit west of Highway 530 is where the mining will actually take place. And that will be the next public hearing that we will be going to. So just a quick overview there. We posted public notice, as you can see, pretty wide open, pretty blue skies that day. And we'll jump straight into the 6 review criteria that we have for a zone map amendment. The first being, is it consistent with the current resolution and comprehensive plan? Something that I believe many of the residents, as the commission, is going to be excited of, just the economic and community benefits that Pacific Soda will be bringing back to the community. We know that Trona and a lot of mining facilities are kind of our life and blood here in the county. So exciting to see another one coming to add to the community as well. The second one was proposed zoning suitable with existing topography. This is located within the KSLA area, the known sodium leasing area. And also due to its proximity to the Green River, it's going to provide the much needed water to water intake for the processing of Trona. And staff does find that it's compatible with existing allowable uses in the area. On that zoning map that was presented, there's a lot of ag in the area, but there's also quite a bit of MD zoning in the area too for various uses, whether it's a gravel quarry or other Trona mines in the general vicinity. It's something that staff does find compatible. And even though the property is vacant right now, when it comes time to construction and design plan, which we've been assured by Pacific Soda and have seen them communicating with other agencies in the area, they need to take into account access, drainage, potable water, sanitary sewer, and of course, fire protection, as well as working with the utility lines, natural gas lines that exist within the area. And we're glad to see that that's already happening and we don't need to remind them of that. So that's something we thank them for. And staff does not see that there's any adverse effects on adjacent property owners. And it's also important to note that we have not received any negative comments on this either. And staff does find that this area in the proposed zoning meets all applicable provisions of our current zoning resolution. We did receive quite a bit of comments back from agencies to Sora Logistics, stated that they have a crude oil pipeline in the vicinity. Westside Water and Sewer, it's not within their boundaries. Same thing with Green River and City of Rock Springs. And then Mountain West Overthrust Pipeline also stated that they've got 2 high pressure natural gas pipelines there and just request that Pacific Soda works with them as they move forward with their project. And there is also existing copper lines that Lumen has on the south side of the property. And in the planning and zoning meeting that we had last week, Pacific Soda confirmed that there will be no building in the area where these copper lines are located. So that's good to note as well. And at the April 10th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5-0 to recommend approval of Resolution 24-04-0-04 for the zone map amendment from agricultural to MD1 as requested by Pacific Soda. That's all I have, Chairman West.
Thanks, Megan. Appreciate the information. Definitely exciting project that we're aware of and looking forward to. Any questions for staff on this zoning map amendment, commissioners? Any question for the applicant? If not, we will go ahead and open up a public hearing for the approval of resolution 2404-Z004. Zoning map amendment from agriculture to mineral development as requested by Pacific Soda LLC. At this time, if there's anyone online or in the audience that would like to speak to this public hearing, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
move to approve resolution 2404-Z004 for approval of a zoning map amendment from agricultural to mineral development requested by Pacific Soda LLC.
You have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Moving right along into item 3. Under tab A is the approval of resolution 2404-Z005. Another zoning map amendment from agriculture to mineral development, again requested by Pacific Soda LLC. And we'll hand it back to Megan.
Thank you, Chairman West. I will just try and hit the high points with this as it's very, very similar to the previous hearing. First off, the only difference that we have right here is we've got 2 different property owners. Of course, BLM is going to have property in the area, and we will also have UNA Development Company and Sweetwater Surface as well. Pacific Soda, again, is the applicant on this, and for the mining location of the Trona facility, we will be looking at approximately 4,646 acres. And the current zoning of the property is ag, and infrastructure that's within the area. The nearest public road is Wyoming Highway 530, and again, Green River's the responding fire agency. The mine site is located approximately 20 miles southwest of Green River. The mine site will primarily consist of a well-filled solution mining pump station, area surge pond, low TA pond, and a landfill. And mining will occur initially in sections 25 and 26 within Township 16 North, Range 110 West, and then it will proceed to sections 23 and 24, and then lastly, section 35. Here's the zone map. The area in blue is where it's being proposed. The other areas that are down there, those are actually where the Project West will be mining from. So interesting that they're within the same township there. And as you can see, proximity to Highway 530 and County Road Run. And while reviewing the application and just kind of looking to see what was in the area, I noticed that there is a brine pond there and also a surge pond. After discussions with Wesley Slaw, he clarified that these were put on site for their research and development phase of seeing if the project would be viable. And they have gone through all the necessary permittings that they needed to with the state engineer's office and Wyoming DEQ. And we just received copies of those permits just so that we have them in our records as well. Again, as you can see with the site map that they provided, there's also a natural gas pipeline down there as well that has been taken into consideration. We've properly posted public notice, and we'll quickly go through the review criteria. Just trying to hit on the high points that are a little bit different. Staff has no concerns of it being compatible with existing allowable uses. Again, majority of the area is ag and MD1, so it fits right in. Biggest thing that staff has to note is that during the design and construction phase, again, taking notes that access, drainage, potable water, sanitary sewer, and fire protection need to be considerations during design phase to make sure everything's put in place depending on what structures and things may be put out on site. Staff does not see this adversely affecting any adjacent property owners. And again, we've not received any negative comments. And as with the last public hearing, staff does find that this conforms with all applicable provisions within this resolution. We received the exact same comments as we did for the last one, so I'm not going to bore you with that. Biggest thing is there's the pipelines within the area, and Pacific Soda has also confirmed that they are working with those pipeline owners as well as they're doing in the facility location. They're doing the same thing down here in the mining location as well. The only other comment that we received was from Wyoming Game and Fish, and they have stated that they are already working with Pacific Soda to work on avoiding, minimizing, and mitigating impacts to wildlife and wildlife habitat. And they've been already working on that. So again, staff thanks Pacific Soda for being on top of the little things that sometimes get mixed in the big projects. And again, their Lumen stated that they have copper down in the area in fiber. And at the April 10th, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting last week, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5-0 to approve this resolution. That is all I have, Chairman West.
Thanks, Megan. Appreciate the information on that as well. Any questions for staff on this zoning map amendment, commissioners? Any questions for the applicant? If not, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing for the approval of resolution 2404Z005. Excuse me, zoning map amendment from agriculture to mineral development as requested by Pacific Soda LLC. If there's anyone online or in the audience that would like to speak to this zoning map amendment, now would be the appropriate time.
Mr. Chairman, one other note, this does meet the preferred alternative too on Pacific Soda. Just want to clarify that too. The zone change does. That's all I have.
Thanks, Eric. Anyone else who would like to speak to the public hearing? If not, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
move approval of resolution 24-04-0-5 for approval of a zoning map amendment from agricultural to mineral development requested by Pacific Soda LLC.
Do you have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? I would just say, I think Pacific Soda's demonstrated that they've been a great partner to work with throughout this project, as Megan's identified, and reaching out to the different, entities and agencies to move this process along. So we thank you for that, and we look forward to the future progress. So with that, we do have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thank you, Megan. Moving right along, commissioners, we're about 20 minutes ahead of schedule, so we'll take that as a win for now. This will bring us under the county resident comments and concerns portion of the agenda. If there's anyone online or in the audience who would like to address the governing body on any issues, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the county resident comments and concerns portion of the agenda. And this is going to move us right along to tab B, which is the consent agenda. Before you this morning are 8 items under the consent agenda. The first being the approval of the April 2nd, 2024 minutes. Second, the approval of the county vouchers, warrants, EALs, and the commissioner's report. Third is the approval of bonds. Fourth, the approval of monthly reports. Fifth, the approval of the April 16th, 2024 abates and rebates. Sixth, the approval of the hospital maintenance expenditures. Seventh is to ratify the federal cooperator MOU on Project West. And eighth is ratifying the letter of support for the Ashley National Forest Fleming Gorge Ranger District's Wyoming Office of Outdoor Recreation Grant application. Is there any questions or requests to remove any items under the consent agenda, commissioners? Not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Tillman,
I would make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
a motion to approve by Commissioner Tillman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Moving right along into commissioner comments. Looks like Commissioner Slaughter, you're up first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will start on the 3rd of April. Commissioner Richards, Public Works Director Legursky, Assistant Public Works Director Andy Hooton, and I traveled to McKinnon to meet with residents to discuss the analysis that was performed for County Road 1 and to give some idea of the proposed remediation which we had come up with. Approximately 90 residents attended the meeting held in the County Weed and Pest Building. Public Works Director Legursky gave a short presentation outlining the findings of the study. We then heard comments from the audience on what they would like to see done with the road. It was apparent that the residents feel that the road provides a vital connection to Green River. At the end, we polled the audience and were overwhelmingly informed they would like to see the road completely asphalt resurfaced. We are continuing to explore options and intend to have a discussion with the full Board of County Commissioners on this subject at our May 7th meeting. On the 4th, the Rock Springs Chamber of Commerce hosted a Coffee with Commissioners event at the Young at Heart Senior Center in Rock Springs. All 5 commissioners took the opportunity to inform the audience of the work they've been doing over the last several months. Questions were then taken from the floor. I would estimate that there were 30 to 40 people in attendance. Thanks to Rick Lee and his staff for putting this event together. It's an excellent way for the public to stay informed on issues that may affect them. I look forward to participating in future similar events. On the 8th, I conducted the monthly meeting of the Specific Purpose Tax Joint Powers Board. Several more requisitions were approved for payment on projects that were approved in the November 2022 ballot initiative. The tax revenue continues to come in above projection. In 10 full months of collection, we've averaged just under $1.7 million per month. At the current rate of collection, the tax will be paid off in just over 48 months of collection. The board discussed various methods of alerting the public to the projects that are being completed, and felt it was appropriate to begin discussions of possible projects for a new initiative when this one is fully funded. We will continue these discussions in future meetings. On the 11th, I met with Commissioner Richards, Planner Eric Bingham, Public Works Director Legursky, Janissa Meredith, and Mark Lyon to discuss the concept of pursuing a state park here in Sweetwater County. Several areas were discussed. It was determined that we'll continue to gather information to see if there's something worth pursuing in the future. We also had discussions on performing an evaluation of our current parks and updating our county park plan. Later that afternoon, I met with Kathy Coomer, Chair of the Sweetwater County Board of Health, on some concerns that she had. I referred her to Commissioner West as he is the liaison to that board and had explained it was inappropriate for me to intervene in an area that Commissioner West had been selected liaison. I listened to her comments and she agreed to contact Commissioner West. I then met with John Freeman, Board Treasurer of the Golden Hour Senior Center. We discussed many items pertinent to that organization. I agreed to provide both he and the new center director, Marcia Driggs, with additional information that may help them in preparing their fiscal year 25 budget request. On the 15th, Commissioner West and I met with representatives of the County Health Board and Treasurer Cowan to foster better communication between our boards. I think we all came away with the feeling that the meeting was beneficial and that we have a better understanding of each of our roles. Later, I met with Public Works Director Legursky to review items for today's commission meeting and to hear other areas of concern that he will be dealing with in the near future. One of the issues we discussed was the proposal to enroll all county roads in the ORV program. Several items of interest came up, and I will follow up as we discuss this proposal later in our meeting. And tomorrow I will be attending a luncheon put on by the Green River Chamber of Commerce. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I conclude my remarks and would stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate the report. Did I hear you right on the specific purpose tax? It's averaging about 1.7 a
Yes,
month? That's good. As I recall, that's more than years past, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Estimate kind of
I think
million
in
and
the
a
past
half.
we can average $1.5 million. What was estimated for collection on this initiative was $1.4 million, and the time frame was selected for that period of time. The last 2 months have actually been down significantly, the months following Christmas, obviously. But I think as we see spring coming, I think we'll see them jump back up again. But they've been, extremely high at this point in time. I think the initial thought that was this would be paid off in about 56 months. And so at this rate, which no one knows that will continue at this rate, we'll be done 8 months ahead of schedule on that. So,
That's good. Appreciate that. Questions for Commissioner Slaughter's report? If not, Commissioner Toman, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I think I'll keep it fairly brief because a lot of the federal issues will be covered later today. April 2nd, I attended the Sage Grouse Regional Cooperators Zoom meeting. On April 4th, the Dry Creek Trona Cooperators Zoom meeting. April 4th, coffee with the commissioners. And I focus my speech on what does a commissioner do? What do we do? Very interesting. April 5th, Federal Partners breakfast, or not breakfast, but we meet at the chamber once a month, first Friday. And again, those issues will be discussed in the Federal Partners update today. There will be no June meeting of that group due to a BLM scheduling conflict. April 8th, I attended the Farson Eden Senior Luncheon. April 9th, I attended the YWCA Open House, their new facility on K Street. Was very well attended and very interesting. And you each received a green band. Melinda didn't bring these the other day, but this is for April Domestic Violence, Sexual Abuse, Child Abuse Month. So that's why we have the green bands. Upcoming meetings, the Coalition of Local Governments meets on Thursday, Airport Board meeting at 8 o'clock on Wednesday. I will go to the Green River High School with Devin to talk about aviation at 1 o'clock on Wednesday tomorrow. Next Monday, they're offering the Little Mountain flights again to show us the migration corridors and Little Mountain area. The Greater Sage Grouse Plant open house again will be Monday at the White Mountain Library, the 22nd, 5 to 7 p.m. And in conclusion, I just want to remind everybody to think about the pastoralism. The trailing of the sheep is occurring now. The herds come from Idaho, Kemmer, and Cokeville to Sweetwater County for the winter to graze on the federal, on the Rock Springs Grazing Association and BLM lands. And now they are trailing back, so they will be getting sheared soon and heading back to heading north for their lambing grounds and their summer ranges. So just a reminder if you see sheep all over the place. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate the report. Any questions for Commissioner Toman?
Thanks to Trina also for Trina Britton. She's been to a lot of our meetings and this will be her last meeting with us. She still works for the Rocket, but she will have a different partner coming to our meetings.
Definitely
you.
appreciate the coverage and for your attendance as well. If that's all, Commissioner Richards, the floor is yours.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. It looks like we're about 45 minutes ahead. I'll see if I can get us caught up.
Slow us down, are you?
Had a challenging, if not particularly busy couple of weeks. On Wednesday, the 3rd, the day after our last meeting, I joined Commissioner Slaughter along with Public Works Director Legursky for a pilgrimage along County Road number 1 out to McKinnon for a town hall meeting with local residents regarding the road rehabilitation study that Gene presented to us at our last meeting. Somewhere between 80 and 90 people attended, and it was a lively discussion. It was good to see one of our communities so engaged, even if it seemed like each and every one of them took a chunk of flesh out of me. All in all, though, we had some great conversations and got good feedback from them. I look forward to working with Rob and Jean and the folks out there finding some solutions on how to move forward with County Road number 1. Interestingly, Representative Heiner also attended. I guess he was campaigning and he jumped on the soapbox in front of us demanding that CR1 be fully repaved. And this is the part that confused me, but he told us that we should get industrial siding money to pay for it. First, I was baffled that someone who has been instrumental in cutting industrial siding funds available to local governments was lecturing us on how to use them. And second, I was even more baffled that he seemed to have no understanding of how industrial siding funds are determined. I've spoken to him since, and I told him I looked forward to seeing a bill from him in the next session that provides money for what he was demanding. On April 4th, I remotely attended an Air Quality Advisory Board meeting. We don't have any pending decisions, so our meetings have been mostly educational in nature, getting me caught up on current regulations and changes working their way through the federal process. Also on the 4th, I joined all of you at the Young at Heart Senior Center for coffee with the commissioners. I think it was a great event, and it was good to see some new faces in attendance and not just the usual suspects. I will say I was a little disappointed that with 2 solid hours of real, thorough, and in-depth information about what's going on in Sweetwater County, the article that got written by our friend out there in the audience was about a subject that we really hadn't even been discussing. I guess it did spur some lively some good online discussions, if there is such a thing. But I would really appreciate if people would take a moment to learn what it is we do as commissioners, and along with that, what we don't do. We don't manage city streets and lights. We don't oversee what cities and school districts do with their own buildings. We don't run or fund Flaming Gorge days, and we don't tell investors and entrepreneurs what they can spend their money on. Those very same reporters could help with that. But I guess boring things like facts don't produce clicks. It's a lot easier to stir people up with back burner but emotional issues. The next morning on the 5th, I attended the federal partners meeting at the Chamber of Commerce, mostly just quick updates, but one of them of note was that Brian from National Forest let us know there's zero interest from regional decision makers to pursue a state park at Firehole. And because of the nature of the national recreation area that was created by Congress, it would be all but impossible from his point of view anyway. I still think that pursuing a state park somewhere in Sweetwater County would be a net positive for our community. So we're still looking at identifying somewhere that would make sense. On the 8th, I attended the Solid Waste District number 1's meeting. They now have a full and fully engaged board and are working on developing an investment policy and plan, along with identifying some short-term and long-term capital needs. I think I told you they've hired legal representation, and they've also engaged with an accounting firm to handle their financials. So they seem to be moving in the right direction. On the 10th, I attended the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting where they addressed the same hearings that we addressed earlier this morning. Chairman Angela Wilson's term ends July 1st, but she will likely not be available for the May and June meetings, so she probably chaired her last meeting with them last week. Most of you probably know that I spent my own stint on that board, and my last couple of years there overlapped with her first couple of years, and she was a pleasure to work with. I'd like to thank Angela for the 8 or so years that she's dedicated to that board and to the people of Sweetwater County. A lot of important work has been done in her tenure there, and her presence will be missed, which brings us to replacing her. We will need to appoint someone to replace her that represents an unincorporated portion of the county. And my preference would be to find someone from the southwestern portion of the county, since we already have representation from the northeastern unincorporated parts. So over the next couple of months, I'd encourage folks from Jamestown, Washington, McKinnon, or anywhere in that region to think about stepping up and applying to be on that board. It's one of the more important boards in the county, and it has a massive effect on all of our lives. On April 11th, I met with Commissioner Slaughter along with staff and some others to discuss some possibilities for Pioneer Trails Park, as well as its suitability as a candidate as a state park. We'll be bringing that as a topic for discussion with all of you in the near future to see how all of you feel, as well as how the public feels about it. On April 15th, I joined John King on KREO for our monthly visit on the radio. Then I attended the Sweetwater County Outdoor Recreation Collaborative Steering Committee meeting. That evening, I also attended the monthly library board meeting. Lindsay presented the board with the National Library Week proclamation that we signed, and they expressed their gratitude. They discussed their 2025 funding request, which, unless there are unforeseen changes, will be for $4,104,516. That includes $3,424,000 and change for operations and $680,000 that was presented to our capital committee. On the operations side, that is an increase of about 5.5%, which accounts for the 3% COLA guidance they took from us and a 5% in health insurance plus some other inflationary costs. Capital includes a replacement vehicle for their outreach program, as well as a new heating cooling system for the White Mountain Library. The increase looks larger than it would have because we did make cuts last year requiring them to spend down some of their cash on hand, which they did to the tune of about $238,000. So great on them for doing exactly what we asked them to do. Library's been busy with 3 months more to still go in their fiscal year. They've already surpassed their total 2023 attendance by about 15%. They have also already surpassed last year's digital circulation by 15%, and they're on track to surpass last year's physical circulation by the end of April. So all in all, our libraries are being heavily used in our community, and we will likely see even more usage as these large industrial projects start to develop over the next few years. Looking forward, I'll spend the last half of this week in Casper at the Wyoming Outdoor Recreation Summit, trying to learn a little bit more about potential ways for Sweetwater County to capitalize on outdoor recreation, both as a recreation benefit to the people who live here and as a way to bring economic growth to the area. On Saturday, I'll attend the Wyoming Republican Party State Convention as a delegate representing Sweetwater County. And next week on the 22nd, I'll try to attend the BLM Sage Grouse public meeting. And then on the 23rd, I'll attend the monthly Fair Board meeting. On the 29th, I'll be at the Combined Communications meeting. On the 30th, I have a Skork State Parks Subcommittee meeting. And on the morning of May 1st, the Kiwanis Club has asked me to speak at their monthly breakfast meeting. On the 2nd, I'll attend the pre-hearing conference for the Project West Industrial Siting application. Mr. Bingham and Mr. De Leon have been quietly but diligently behind the scenes to keep that ball rolling, and I'm confident that we'll be ready for the actual hearing on the 16th. That brings me full circle back here to see all of you again on the 7th. That's 3 weeks away, so I'm sure more opportunities to serve the county will present themselves before then, but that's what's on my schedule right now. I think that's all I have for you today, Mr. Chairman, and I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate your report. Any questions for Commissioner Richards' report? If not, Commissioner Jones, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to take a second to wish my wife a happy birthday and thank her for putting up with me all these years. She probably deserves an award as well as a birthday present. On April 2nd, I attended the Doctor's Day dinner for Memorial Hospital, Sweetwater County. It was an appreciation dinner put on by the hospital for our doctors. It was a great evening. We had lots of fun, lots of smiles and laughter everywhere. So that was good to get them all together. The hospital does an awesome job of showing their appreciation for their employees. And that's just one example. On April 3rd, I attended the monthly Memorial Hospital, Sweetwater County Board of Trustees meeting. Pretty much covered most of the hottest topics from in our previous meeting where I've reviewed committee meetings I've attended. So I don't need to bore you with all of that. But they typically monthly go over the finances, quality, patient care, patient experience, things like that, and really are making some great strides in those areas. So everybody up at the hospital contributes in their own way, and everybody plays a very important role up there. Also on April 3rd, I attended the Jackalope Wind Farm meeting in hopes of learning more about the project and what the future holds. I have to say I was very disappointed as most of my questions were met with partial answers or answers without substance. I asked several questions that our constituents had asked of me. Some of them topics like permanent jobs, how much electricity will we be able to use here, bird deaths, how the project will affect current and future oil and gas operations, things like that. Really felt like the information presented was kind of fluff, unfortunately. Wasn't really substantive, so that was a little disappointing. Just an FYI, the comment period for the public to send written comments to the BLM has been extended to 11:59 PM. So just before midnight on April 2nd. Also a reminder, there were somewhere around 40,000 comments sent to the BLM on the Rock Springs RMP. This subject of the wind farms, as well as a sage grouse plan and travel management for the BLM will be just as important. So I encourage everyone to please continue to be involved in the process and send in comments. Public input is critical, and the outcome of these plans will absolutely impact each and every day of our daily lives here in Sweetwater County. On April 4th, I attended the monthly Pulse meeting put on by the Rock Springs Chamber of Commerce. Presentation was given by David Steed from Pacific Soda. It's pretty much the same one we saw here, but good to be there and be involved with some other folks to receive their information. He did mention that the BLM has committed that they will not be using alternative B when it comes to their project, so that's a good sign. Also on April 4th, I was on the air with Johnny Kay at KREO Radio. We covered many topics related to Sweetwater County Board of County Commissioners. Johnny pays close attention to what's going on, so he knows the questions to ask. But the biggest topic we covered was my trip to Washington, D.C. with Senators Cole, Jones, and Dockstader to meet with Bureau of Land Management Director Tracy Stone Manning. So I was there a little over an hour. I think it was time well spent, just trying to get information out to the public, more of what we're up to. Also on April 4th, I met with County Attorney Aaron Mosby, Chief Civil Deputy and Prosecuting Attorney De Leon, Sheriff Gross-Nickel, Under Sheriff Tomich, Public Works Director Legursky, and Assistant Public Works Director Hooten. It's a mouthful of names and titles. The topic was off-highway vehicles and whether or not we move forward with removing the requirement of a license plate. There's going to be more discussion in that later this afternoon, so I'll hold my comments on that. But just a reminder to folks that we are looking at one thing and one thing only, and that is the removal of a license plate require on OHVs. So nothing more, nothing less. We're not changing any current laws, rules, use, or anything of that nature. On April 4th, I joined all of you for Coffee with Commissioners put on by the Rock Springs Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank Rick Lee and the Chamber for putting this together and also thank those who attended. I would encourage our constituents to attend events like this so that they can find out what we are working on, kind of similar to what Commissioner Richards said. And that way they're a little bit more informed and would be great to have a few more questions asked of us as well. On April 5th, I attended the Federal Partners meeting. Already had an update on that, so I'll move on. April 8th, I attended the monthly Starbus board meeting. Topics discussed were possibility of rebranding or refreshing of the logo, current work on the maps they're doing, drug and alcohol program, possible partnerships, travel and tourism. Still talking about the new vans that have been on order for 2 long years, thanks to COVID. And they are also needing a new board member. So if anyone has any interest, please complete an application, get it turned in. On April 9th, Chairman West and I met with some folks from the museum as well as Public Works Director Legursky at the County Road and Bridge buildings to look at items the museum has stored due to lack of room to display every single thing they have. We ended up spending a fair amount of the time talking about expansion of the library and what the possibilities are. Find ways to do that. While we toured the stored items, though, I noticed an iron lung was in storage. For those who don't know, the iron lung was first used in Boston in 1928. Was used through the early 1950s to fight polio. So they've been around for a while, not used anymore. But it got me to thinking that possibly the hospital could put this on display. So the next morning I spoke with hospital CEO Irene Richardson, and they're going to look into where they might be able to put it. It's pretty big, so you can't just stick it in a corner somewhere. But after looking everything over in storage, I just kind of wonder if there aren't some other organizations who could display some items. It's just a thought. And so since then, there's been several emails floating around on the iron lung, so hopefully we'll make some progress there. Overall, after that, I've had multiple conversations about the Rock Springs RMP, Bridger Teton Forest Plan, Jackalope Wind Farm, sage grouse plans. The amount of work doesn't seem to be slowing down. There will be a public meeting on sage grouse on Monday, April 22nd from 5 to 7 PM at White Mountain Library. Unfortunately, I'll be out of town until Tuesday, so I won't be able to make the meeting. And that is the end of my report.
Thanks, Commissioner. Happy birthday to Senator Jones, and definitely deserves an award for putting up with Commissioner Jones. So kudos to her. Any questions for Commissioner Jones's report?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Slaughter?
just one clarification. Commissioner Jones, I think when you were speaking on the comment period for Jackalope being extended, I believe you said it was going to be extended through April 2nd. I believe
that's
it's
what-
actually May 2nd.
Was it May? Oh,
I
the
believe
wrong
that's
month.
the case. I think.
thank you.
So just to clarify that.
Thank you.
Very good. It looks like I'm last. And I got a pretty short report for you all, so should keep your attention for most of it. I missed the monthly mayors and commissioner luncheon this month. I had other obligations, so I was unable to attend. But I did obviously attend the Coffee with Commissioners event with you all. Appreciate Rick Lee for putting that together. I think those are always good events to help inform the public, because not everyone wants to come hang out over here and put themselves to sleep as we're handling business. But appreciated the questions from the media and the follow-up with some of that too, even though it created some interesting comments to read through online. As a follow-up, one of those questions was from a museum board member that Commissioner Jones just spoke to in relation to some of their storage at one of the county facilities at the Green River Road and Bridge facility, and what the intentions were in the event that the county moves forward with the consolidation at the Leos Drive Night Oil Tools facility, and what that means. And so it was inclined that the city of Green River was aware that they were storing, the museum was storing a lot of their artifacts and whatever else at one of those facilities, and they didn't want to get pushed out in the event that we do move forward with that consolidation. So I'd never seen that facility, and we were invited to go take a look at that. It's pretty cool. Lots of storage in that particular facility. I thought it was just to kind of get an idea as far as the importance behind securing that as additional storage, but it quickly turned into, oh, hey, by the way, we have plans for advancing and expanding. And so we were kind of set up there, but nonetheless, it's good to have a vision and hopes and dreams, and appreciate the invitation to learn more about that. Really interesting items in there. And Commissioner Jones tried to take a few, but David Mead wouldn't let him. So other than that, I've just spent quite a bit of time dealing with staff on different measures as far as budgets and the upcoming work that'll be. At one of our next meetings, we will have some of that compiled along with the capital committee requests that are coming through. So I look forward to discussing that further. As Commissioner Slaughter alluded to, we did have some conversations with the Board of Health and got some of those differences worked out. So I look forward to continuing on with that organization. And I didn't have any liaison meetings between the last time we all met and now. Those will come next week. So I have a little bit of a stacked agenda there with Board of Health, Southwest Counseling. And then the end of this month, the Wyoming County Commissioners Association has their spring board meeting in Saratoga. So plan to attend that. And between now and the 3 weeks of our next meeting, I assume there's going to be plenty to go over, and it seems like every day something new pops up. I did want to inquire with you all, just with holidays and how they land on certain meetings that we have here. Our June 4th meeting, we are going to be off on, let me see here. Yeah, Memorial Day. And so usually we have about a week in advance to get the agenda set. And so staff has asked if we could bump up that deadline to the Thursday before. So it's going to be kind of a tight turnaround, because we'll meet on that Tuesday and then have new agenda items for the following meeting only a couple days later. We can discuss this further, but I didn't see it being a problem. I assume that would be kind of a warm welcome after some of these lengthy meetings that we have during budget season. But we'd be looking at having the deadline on Thursday, the 23rd of May at noon. Which would give us enough time to compile, since it's likely that some staff will be wanting to put in for a longer weekend over that holiday and taking Friday off, and then obviously having Monday off, and then the board meeting on Tuesday. So if you're good with that, we'll kind of move forward with that, and I'll bring something at the next meeting just to give staff enough time to prepare for the different departments and elected officials. Aside from that, I'm gonna keep it short, and I'd stand for any questions. If not, I think that's the shortest commissioner comment section we've had. And so that's a win too. We are about 30 minutes ahead of schedule, so we're going to move right along into the action and presentation items under tab C. Should we wait? We should wait. This is the problem. When you get ahead of schedule, then sometimes the presenters aren't prepared for that. Can we move ahead to your item? Okay, good deal. We're going to pause on the first item, which is the
Mr. Chairman, you want to take maybe a small break and then let Sally try to arrange our.
yeah, we can do that. We will take about a 10-minute break. Let's just resume back here at, let's call it 10:10.
Oh, ouch.
Everyone good? Stay on it now. All right, we're good. Call this meeting back to order. Where we left off was tab C under the action and presentation items. First item today, commissioners, out of 19 is the approval of the 2025 TANF CPI grant application. Now with us this morning is County Grants Manager Christina Marshall. We've got the Sweetwater Program Director Christy Copy, as well as the Director of Stewardship Brittany Gray. And good morning, ladies.
Good morning, everyone. So Sweetwater County is eligible to apply for TANF, not TAMP. TANF.
Sounded better.
CPI funding through the Wyoming Department of Family Services that would benefit our community. There is no required cash match, and it is typically passed through to local agencies to carry out allowable projects. Only local governments can apply for TANF CPI funding. So the grant is designed to help needy families with children who live at or below 185% of the federal poverty level. Projects must address at least one of the following areas: provide assistance so that children can be cared for in their own homes, reduce the dependency of needy parents by promoting job preparation, work and marriage, prevent and reduce the incidence of out-of-wedlock pregnancies, and finally, encourage the formation and maintenance of two-parent families. So I placed a public notice requesting project proposals. It was advertised on March 14th, 2024. Only one application was received by the deadline. So that proposal was from Clinton, Wyoming for Sweetwater area, and they're proposing to do career training and placement for single mothers families. The request is $75,000. They estimate to have 30 new recruits and to provide continued support for 35 graduates. So some notes for this grant. Climb Wyoming actually completed a Sweetwater County's grant risk assessment that is used to assess eligibility, qualifications, and their financial integrity. This is a requirement of federal funds. They did great. They are currently receiving federal fiscal year 24 TANF funding that was sponsored by the county, and they are in not only good standing, excellent standing with the grant requirements. So, and also on this current program year, I just want to point out that 10 participants began CDL training or truck driving training. So in your packet, I provided you the application assurance form, which is what is required by the county. Just so you know, I require that Climb also signs the same assurances. We're passing through to them those requirements. For your information, I included the federal poverty guidelines at 185%. So to put that in perspective, a household of, let's say, one single mother with one child could earn up to $37,814 to qualify this program, but many are way below that. And then some other notes, I provided Climb's proposal, and I just wanted to point out two items. There's no page numbers on it, so you're gonna have to listen to me. So I just want to point out that Climb in their proposal, they embed mental health services within its job training program. Climb connects other moms who are not yet enrolled in training to mental health resources within their respective communities. Just want to point out the outreach that they're doing. And then finally, in this program, Climb is very successful in their program because of their core key components throughout the state. I'll just mention their main areas of providing one-on-one assistance, connect moms to critical resources in the community. They do a comprehensive case management with their participants. They also research our industry needs to see where there's a workforce need to match their participants to. I just mentioned the mental health component. They do skills training, job training and placement. They work in cohorts. They do post-program support. And then their design of their program is constantly changing to the needs of the community. I found that very compelling in their proposal. So with that, I'm available for any questions regarding the application and the county's responsibility. But as the chairman said, the Sweetwater director's here, as well as the director of stewardship, Brittany Gray, and again, Christy, is it Copy? Copy, okay.
Very good. Thanks,
Mhm.
Christina. Questions for staff, commissioners?
Don't have any questions. I used Climb Wyoming several years ago, quite a few years ago. Great program, though.
Anything else you two would like to add? The hot seat.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for this opportunity. We currently are running a CDL program. So we currently have 10 moms. We have partnered with Western Wyoming Community College in their CDL program. So we have our 10 moms out there getting trained up to drive some trucks, and we're pretty excited about it. Once the moms have passed with their CDL licensure, those 10 moms will move right into jobs. And we already have 2 of them placed. One is already currently working.
Very cool.
So, yeah. Any other questions?
Great program. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's an honor to walk alongside.
Think I would just add quickly, so Christy, as our new program director, we're so lucky. She brings such expertise and leadership to the group, and I've already seen the women trusting in her, and that's grown really quickly in her team. So we're just really lucky to have Christy at the helm here in Sweetwater. So just wanted to bring her and introduce you all to her. But most importantly, thank you all for the support, because we can't do this work alone. And so this funding is critical to what we do. So thank you so much.
Thank you both for all that you do. I know it's been a very successful program and has impacted several lives, so keep up the good work.
How about some plumbers, Mr. West?
We've had those conversations. It's a more difficult job than you would think, Commissioner. With no other questions, Commissioners, I would entertain a motion to approve the submission of a federal fiscal year 2025 temporary assistance for needy families community partnership initiative grant application for Climb, Wyoming, and authorize the chairman to sign the assurance form.
Mr.
So moved.
Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, I will second that.
We got a lot going on here. We got a motion,
Everybody's
Commissioner
excited.
Slaughter. I believe we had a second by Commissioner Jones.
Yay.
You were too late. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Christina and Christy and Brittany, for all you do.
I think we'll see plumbers next year. Don't worry. I'll work on him.
See you. Thank you.
Item number 2 under tab C today is the approval of the compensation agreement for Daryl Roethlisberger for the remainder of the current fiscal year. The University of Wyoming Sweetwater County Extension 4-H Youth Development Educator, which is a new hire effective February 19th, 2024, as we learned. And then we're also here to hear an update on regards to 4-H. So at this time, I'll turn it over to you, Daryl, and good morning.
Morning. Thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. I believe you have in your packet the annual compensation agreement. This is the first one that I presented, so forgive me if I stumble just a little. Basically, what this is doing is to finish out this fiscal year for compensation to University of Wyoming for Sweetwater County Extension. In item number 1, their payment a total of $9,964.25 to University of Wyoming for our extension service here in your portion, I should say, of the extension service here in Sweetwater County, and that will cover through June 30th of 24. And then obviously we're getting ready for a new budget to submit here shortly, and so we'll cover those, new items and amount in the future. Is there anything else that you need from me with regards to this?
Yeah, maybe just a couple questions and we'll get through this part and then maybe hear your update if that's okay.
Okay.
With our agreement with you, we have a county coordinator in 4-H youth development as the position that's listed in that. This one is UW Extension Educator 4-H/Youth Development. Is it the same position? Is it
That
just a
is me.
different title?
That is me. Yes. So I am let's see where I can find it here. So I am the position in the 4-H Youth Development Programming. My title is 4-H Youth Development Educator.
Okay,
So basically, yes, it's the same thing.
so
It's
it's
just
no
worded-
longer the county coordinator?
I am the county coordinator as well.
Okay,
Yeah. So I guess, sorry, it's two-part there.
okay. So I think it's just, if I'm understanding it right, we've got an extension educator, which is actually the county coordinator, but they're both the 4-H youth development
Oh,
position.
educator. That is correct.
Okay.
That is
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
And then on these payments to get us through the remainder of this fiscal year, nothing has changed as far as the original amount that we approved for this position.
That
Is
is,
that
at this point, no, that's correct.
okay?
Yep.
All right, because it seemed like the math, just dividing that amount by 12 wasn't adding up, but I don't know.
Well, I guess I haven't done the math either as well. I got this from Ann Robinson, our business manager, our business person from the university, and honestly, I did not do the math, so.
Okay, but if you're telling me that the position's the same and it's
It
the
is.
same that was originally agreed
Correct.
to, then we're just
Correct.
seeing your position through since you've been recently
Started.
hired on. Okay.
That's correct.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Sorry, I'm a little foggy. My first.
Well, you're new to it, so I get it. I
Thank you.
just, when I saw it, I wanted to make sure we were all on the same page.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Slaughter?
Yeah, I'm just in a little bit of a fog with respect to it too. And so with regard to a similar question as to what the chair's question was, I would have thought that at the time we approved payment in the last fiscal year's budget, that we were approving the full year at that point in time. And I'm curious as to why now we have to do an additional agreement where we're paying for the $3,000 in March, an additional payment of $6,000 in June. Is there something that we missed? Is it an additional position that we're paying for now that we weren't previously? Or do you know, Daryl, or?
I'm at a different salary than the previous position. Maybe that's the difference in that. I'm at 54 annually. I don't know what she was before me. I think I need to do some research. I apologize.
Yeah, just curious, because I would have thought, as I say, that we would have had that taken care of in the prior
And
budget.
it is obviously a new person, but I'm at a different salary level than she was before. I'm higher
Okay,
than she was.
that's probably what the difference is then, if that's the case.
So I guess that's probably where the question's coming from because it's
Could be. Yeah.
unclear if this is additional to what was originally agreed upon.
If it was,
Higher
if it,
cost.
yes, that's probably, I apologize. That's probably what it is because I am at a higher salary than the previous person that was in this position. And I can't tell you what that was. I don't know what her salary was.
There was a gap though, so it still may be under the budget because there were several months there was no salary paid.
Oh. I should have brought my budget with me. What would your pleasure be in terms of what you'd like me to do, to kind of get this cleared up so everybody's on the same page?
My suggestion would probably be for us to either table this or postpone taking any action until we can get
That's
some
fine.
further clarification, just because, like I said, we are already under, in agreement, and so
Sure.
I'm not sure if this means that
I totally can understand.
subject to that plus additional, because of the change in salary, but just some clarification on
Yep.
what that is, unless you see it differently, commissioners.
I appreciate those comments. Thanks. And I'll certainly get that
Mr.
cleared up.
Chairman, I'd be comfortable with tabling it to our next meeting.
Okay. Everyone else good with that?
Likewise.
With that, I guess, I'd entertain a motion to table the approval of the compensation agreement for Darrell Roethlisberger for the remainder of the current fiscal year as discussed.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. So just know with that, because we tabled it, we will have to act on it the next meeting, which is 3 weeks from now. So
Sure.
any information we can get to help clarify that.
I'll definitely
great.
get, yeah, I
Okay.
didn't understand quite that. I didn't think about that until Commissioner Slaughter asked that question, that it's a different pay scale.
Yeah, because if
Oh.
it's more, then we may have to look into a budget amendment and et cetera. So
Okay.
with that, we appreciate that. We'll look forward to revisiting that in May, and we'll turn it back to you for your 4-H update.
Okay, I'd like to kind of give you an update of what's been going on. I've been to 10 4-H club meetings so far. Went to a fair board meeting, a couple of auction committee meetings. We've had 2 4-H county 4-H leaders council meetings. I've been a couple of those. I mentioned in my introduction when I came to introduce myself the last time I was here, my first time I was here, I talked about starting a Sweetwater County 4-H junior leaders group. We've got 11 kids that are interested in that, and they will be 4-H ambassadors throughout the county. They'll serve in multiple roles. You'll see them at the fair a lot, as well as they will make county club visits, 4-H club visits, and do some training for those officers in those clubs. And there'll be some leadership trainings that they will attend that are provided at the state level, as well as we have some region leader training, team leader trainings that are put on in the various region. We're the Southwest area, I think they call it, of in terms of our county in the state. I'll be attending a shooting sports certification this weekend to come up to speed with things that are happening in our shooting sports program. Last week I was in Casper at an extension educator training, and that was good and brought back some things that I'm able to implement already in my 4-H junior leader program. And then I've written several grants to support some of our items, such as trying to get a scale for junior livestock animals, so that we can take that around and make sure that 4-H members' animals are gaining the appropriate weight in order to make the sale. If they don't meet the minimum weight requirement, then they can't sell. And we had some of that happen last year, and it was simply due to them not having the availability to weigh their animals and know what their average daily gain was. So that's one of my goals, is to make sure those kids that are raising animals, that they can make the weight and be able to sell them at the junior livestock sale. So any questions for me?
Thanks, Darrell. Any questions, commissioners?
It's a busy time, and it's getting busier.
Sounds like you're getting your feet wet anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
The busy summer ahead with rodeo and National High School Rodeo and
All the
all the
things,
fun.
all the
So
things, as my wife would say, all the things.
good luck with that. We'll look forward to hearing more as you get more comfortable with the
Sure.
position, and it sounds like we'll see you back here in a few weeks.
Yeah, we sure will.
Appreciate
Thank you,
that.
commissioners. Appreciate it for the
Coming over
time.
today.
You bet.
Next item,
Here.
presenter is not here. We are going to skip ahead, so we'll pause on item 3. We just took a break, so
They are here.
they are here. Just kidding. We are going to back up, and the next on the action presentation items under tab C, commissioners, is the request for county startup funding for the Farson Senior Citizen Center. And with us this morning, we believe, is Tiffany Toman. Good morning.
Morning.
You're right in time.
Thank you.
We're a little ahead, so.
Good. Do I start?
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
Good. So we are approaching you guys today because Farson Eden Senior Services was formed and organized when the Wyoming Aging Division reached out to Teresa Noble, expressing there's extra funding for rural areas like Farson to do more for their senior citizens. A senior center in Farson has been a dream for many of our senior residents. Currently, through a private donor, our community has been able to provide 1 free meal a month to our seniors 60 and older. On average, the senior luncheon serves approximately 45 people. However, the donation money has run out. Our program will allow us to serve 2 congregate meals for a suggested donation of $4 a meal for 60 and older. Our program will allow us to deliver meals to their homes if a senior is unable to attend for various reasons. These meals will be served and delivered on Monday and Thursdays of each week. After the meal has been served, we will also offer social services such as games, social interactions, and basic community information or basic information regarding our senior citizens such as Medicare. We will be open every Monday or Thursday unless they fall on a federal holiday. A funeral is held in the community hall on one of those days, and we will also follow the school closures. So if there's inclement weather and the school is closed, we will also be closed as well. Our board and directors have been actively engaged in researching and writing grants and seeking private donations. As of today, we have been awarded 3 different grants from the Aging Division. Jonah Energy has also been supportive of our endeavors and will be awarding us a donation in the coming weeks. Letters of intent have also been sent out to other businesses and you, our county commissioners. Our grants awarded from the state are a reimbursement grant. That is why we are here today requesting startup funding from our county commissioners. Before we can get started, we need to pay rent to the improvement district for the community hall, purchase a few assets such as a fridge and a freezer. We have payroll expenses and have startup funds for our expenditures in order to send in a reimbursement invoice to the state to utilize our grants. Any questions?
Thanks for coming before us this morning, Tiffany, and for your efforts up there. If I understood you right, the startup funds would be for kind of getting going with rent and the different not utilities, but fridge, freezer, all that.
Yep.
Do you have an amount that you're after?
We would like around $50,000. I know that is a lot, but we are brand new and we need some funds in order to be reimbursed for our funds through the Aging Division.
And as far as the program, it'd be for 60 and older. Do you have demographics on? I mean, I think you said 2 meals per week was the goal with this.
Yep.
Is it 50 individuals, 100 individuals?
Well, right now there's about 45 that come, but in the Farson Eden Valley, there's over 100 seniors that are there. And it varies depending on if it's summer, and a lot of people will come back for the summer, and then in the winter, some, not a lot, but some people do snowbird down in warmer areas. But I do think that we will still have around 45 people that come to our meals, and I think that other people will take advantage of the meals that will be delivered.
Questions, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Slaughter?
Tiffany, yes, thank you. I am very close to this subject. I serve as the liaison for Golden Hours Board here in Green River, so I'm well aware of what you can do for seniors and how important it is. It's been amazing to me to see the vitality of the senior group as I interact with them in all of the activities that they do. Looks like you're trying to do the same types of things, and I applaud you for that. First question I would have would be, you mentioned that you have got other grant funding and other donations. Do you have amounts that you currently have on those, or do you just have commitments at this point in time to funding from those?
So the Wyoming Aging Division will give us, there were 3 separate grants, a Title C1, a Title C2, and then a 3B, which is the 3B is the support services, and the other 2 are related to nutrition, and they will each cap out at $100,000. And we have been awarded that amount, but it's not that we get the check, we have to they reimburse us for all these things up to $100,000. Jonah Energy has not disclosed what they are going to donate, but I'm positive it will be good.
You think it will be substantial anyway?
Yes.
Just to present my concern, and obviously I'm sure this will be a concern of each of our commissioners. You know, as we were preparing the budget last year, one of the things that we considered was any new entities that were coming forward and were asking for funding. And one of the things that we made a commitment to is that we were not going to provide funding for those things. So while this is an extremely positive endeavor, and I think it's something that we certainly need to look at, you know, that was a position that we had taken. And so it's something that's going to be probably a tough ask for us, but something that I think seeing what I have seen with respect to our seniors and what they're able to accomplish. And I actually have been pretty active in the senior center in Rock Springs too. So I've seen a lot of what goes on there. I think it would be very beneficial to the seniors in that area. So I applaud you, and we'll see where we go from here with it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Jones?
just I guess kind of an overall question of, I guess what I would like to have seen is a kind of a detailed budget or something like that, so we know, and you want 50,000 from us and you can get up to 100, but I don't really know exactly where it's going or what we're doing with it, so
So our biggest, what we really need is the startup cost, so we can just initially get going. So in order to get, food like from Cisco, we'd need to pay them, and we have payroll expenses. And then like our building, we have to pay rent on our building. And we can't get any money from the aging division until we pay up front, and then they reimburse us. So did that answer your question?
closer.
Close. Can I add any more? I'm not sure.
That's all I have.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Toman?
so, could you reimburse the county when you got the other money? Could you like a loan from us or something? Would that work, or do you need to have the money?
I don't think that's possible. Yeah.
They usually don't like giving the counties any money. So I say that jokingly.
I would say get a more solid budget to us, outlining, try to pin down some more of your other funds so you give us an exact amount.
Okay.
And talk with Ron Wild, Rocky Mountain Power. He's been doing a lot of grants.
Okay.
So you may be able to get some from them.
Okay.
Young at Heart, I'm liaison for them. They said they would be willing to work with you, but it is a separate program, so there's not really much they can do except maybe send the nurses up there or something like that.
Okay.
Why do you have to pay rent?
Why do we have to pay rent?
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't own the building.
I know, but I mean, it's a community center.
It is a community center, and they have discounted our rent by half. But it's still, that's the only place that we have to host a senior center, and that's the agreement that they will work with us on.
Well, Mr. Chairman, that is one of the 6 entities that are taxing themselves in the Eden Valley. If the coal mine goes down, that a community center will be paid off in a couple of years. But right now, we pay heavy taxes on that, but they have a difficulty meeting the maintenance. And so they come to us every year for 30,000 on maintenance. So they can't do too much free use of that building because of their overhead.
Yeah.
So are you after just initial startup funding only, or is this an annual request after you get things kicked off? Do you know yet?
We would like it to be an annual request. Yes.
Okay.
And we do pay the other 2 senior centers, 250,000 each almost. Just want to provide
True.
that information.
Any other questions, comments, commissioners? These are tough. I mean, there's a lot of what we classify as the outside agencies that do tremendous things for the county, and they offer, great services, especially, for senior citizens and various other, improvements. And I think collectively we all support that. It's just at some point in time, we have to gauge, where do we stop? Do we just fund them all? Can we help get some of them started up? Do we open the door for new ones? Kind of what Commissioner Slaughter was alluding to last year. We had some new requests come before us, and it was some of us as, the newbies up here trying to figure out, the different financial strings and where everything's coming in and going out. And, these are easier at budget time when we kind of have a better idea as far as, what revenues are going to be coming in and collectively what the expenditures are looking like to help balance. So it's probably easier to give you direction at that time. Most of those have gone out already. So we can get with, the clerk's office to see if there's any room for you to submit a request, but I know those have been submitted to this point, and so it's probably hard for us to give you direction today, other than last year we did take the approach that we wouldn't accept any new, requests. We actually turned a couple down last year too for that reason. But we applaud your efforts, and, this is something we can, not put to bed, but maybe have some follow-up conversations with you on in regards to our budgeting process for fiscal year 25. Unless you all see it differently, I think it's probably a little bit out of place for us to take any action on today. Just simply not knowing where we're going to end up for this year.
Okay.
Any other thoughts, feedback? No one else wants to speak today. We appreciate the information. Thanks for your efforts up there for that community. And like I said, we have someone that is very familiar with that area, so we'll task her with the follow-up conversation on this and see maybe if we can have the
I'll get my whip
conversation
out.
again at budget time.
So do I get you guys a budget? Or is that down the road that I get you guys a budget?
Let me follow up with you on that.
Okay,
We'll see where we're at within that process. Off the top of my head, like I said, I think everything has been submitted, but maybe not. I can't recall. I'm looking at our clerk back there, but we'll follow up.
okay,
How's that?
thank you,
Thanks for coming over this morning.
thank you.
Appreciate your time.
I'd like
Commissioners,
Just, could I say one more thing?
you always have final comments, Commissioner Tillman. Go ahead.
They wanted the startup money so they didn't have to wait till July to start doing the program. Because our budget wouldn't provide them any funding until July. So I think that's why they didn't apply through the budgeting process for the startup money.
Yeah, and I guess on that front, I mean, it's not something we currently have budgeted for, so we would have to do a budget amendment or something along those lines. And I'm not getting the vibe that that's something that this body is entertaining at this point in time. Commissioner
Mr.
Richards.
Chairman, I commend this, but I think I made my feelings pretty clear both last year and in our preliminary budget discussions that I didn't want to fund new outside entities. And I wanted to work on weaning current outside entities from our budget. Every dollar that we have in Sweetwater County has so many people asking for it. And if we once again start taking on outside entities, we're going to have a line of folks at that podium asking for money for their nonprofit. And while every one of those nonprofits is commendable and does good work, the policy question is, do we fund those nonprofits with tax dollars? And I ran on the position that no, I don't think it's appropriate in very many places to fund nonprofits with tax dollars. So it's a difficult decision, but we're already funding and subsidizing services in Farson as a remote community through their other improvement districts. And I don't want to see us having to now fund another improvement that's paying rent to another improvement that we're already subsidizing. It's circular, and I think it's dangerous territory. I wish we had the money to just give everybody every dime they need to provide every charitable service that you can think of, but it's not that easy. There's just not that much money to go around. And I think we have to be very, very careful with our dollars. It's a sad fact that the farther away you live from the core services, the harder it is and the more expensive it is to receive those services, and the more expensive it is for us as government to provide those services. So it's a balancing act. And I'm not sure I want to tip that scale at this point.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Tillman.
that was a great speech, Commissioner Richards. And I know you say we never disagree, so I'll give you a chance now. I'll give you an opportunity to disagree because we're already funding seniors in this county. This is just an extension of that. This is not a new program. We already fund seniors, and I think they are a vital part of our community. It's not like a new program that's doing something totally different. So that's I will fight to try to get you the funding. Thank you. Because it is a state reimbursed program. It's just getting the startup, and Whether or not you have to ask for it for an ongoing basis, we provide it readily to those other two senior centers. So if we have to look at maybe cutting some of theirs to provide some of yours based on the number of people, I mean, I think we have options. It just may take a little while. So keep seeking your grant funding and get a budget together is what I would say.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Slaughter.
if I could just add a little context from my perspective, looking at our budget moving forward, I think that there is a misconception out there right now because of all of the activity that we're seeing coming from potentially new entities who are bringing large services to our county, that there is a lot of revenue out there currently. It's not there yet. It looks like actually this year, we're probably going to have slightly less revenue than what we had last year, I think, if you look at what our mineral tax receipts have been versus what they were, which is where we receive the bulk of our funding. So I would disagree with Commissioner Tolman and tend to agree a little bit more with Commissioner Richards with respect to this. And the problem that I see with it is, while it's a great program, I can see the same thing coming before us from Wamsutter, or the same thing coming from McKinnon, or the same thing coming from another area of the county if we were to do this. And there's a point in time where our resources are limited. So while we are providing services currently in the two major cities in the county, I don't think that necessarily requires that we do that in other areas. Now, I'm not stating that I wouldn't consider it because I still think that there's potential there. The thing that scares me is, as you asked, it's not only startup funding, but then we're committing funding potentially for future years for operation and maintenance also. And that's where we get in trouble each time we do a program like this. It's the perpetual nature of that when it takes place that creates a problem. And we've been very fortunate in Sweetwater County for the last 40 years. Our mineral taxes have paid the bulk of what we've done. But what we've done is, in certain times when we've had a lot of excess revenue, we have funded additional human service agencies. And there are times that that's great, but there are times that that gets us in trouble. And in a time where we may be seeing restricted revenue, it's something that I couldn't commit to right now. We need to have a little bit better understanding for sure where we're going to be with our revenue picture before I could support it.
Any other comments or feedback, commissioners? Sure.
So what if we just asked for startup funds and not a follow-up?
I think that'd be an easier sell, but I'm not going to guarantee anything. I think, most importantly, why don't you give us some time within the budget process to see where we're at with that, and we can get back with you and contact and.
And we can also get back to you because we do have a lot of other letters out for donations. And maybe by then, maybe we can meet in the middle or something.
Yeah, and the more the conversation goes on, it just kind of makes me wonder, part of what we see up here, even with different boards that we point to, whatever the case is, they all have their own payroll, their own IT, their own, storage expense. Is there a way, we can piggyback off, a Hart or Golden Hour to provide some of those services? I mean, if we're talking a startup fee of $50,000, rather than having the additional overhead that comes with starting that just for the First and Eden Valley, is there a way to provide that service with an existing program that already has the payroll expense and what have you? I mean, I know there's going to be travel expense and additional food and, trips and all that, but it just makes me think, is that something that is applicable? I don't know in regards to your grants that you're talking about, if they would apply to those, but it seems like we're good at growing government, and with that comes additional expense that eventually can't be kept up with unless it's, a governing body that's subsidizing that. So I don't know if you have those answers, but.
I don't think that we can piggyback off of a different organization because the funding is only for Farson Eden Senior Services. I mean, that's something I can check with the aging division, but I don't think that is what they are willing to reimburse for. So, but like I said, we do have other letters of intent and requests out there, and other donations I know will come in. So we can continue to revisit this in the future, and you guys can see where we're at, and I can see where you guys are at, and then potentially meet in the middle.
Okay.
So,
Very good.
Okay.
Thanks, Tiffany.
thank you.
Any other additional questions after the questions? If not, thanks for coming this morning. We appreciate that. We already had a break, Commissioner, so if you're good with it, we'll keep plugging along here. We are still about 30 minutes ahead of schedule. I believe we have representatives from the Conservation District here with us this morning. So that'll bring us right along into item number 5 under tab C, which is the Conservation District 2023 Annual Report and Update. We have you slated for 10 minutes today. We are a little bit ahead, but I can tell you when we get into federal agencies, we're going to probably get behind. So if we could try and hold the line best we can to that 10, 15 minutes, that would be much appreciated. We did get the information submitted in our packet as far as your report. So with that, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm John Burris, Chairman of the Conservation District. I brought Stephanie Anderson with me. She's got some information here. I've got a short report, and I don't think we'll need any extra time. We're going to try to keep it. You got our annual report from.
Can you pull that microphone a little bit closer? They're yelling at me in the back that they can't hear you.
Okay.
Thanks very much. Public
I
watch.
knew there wasn't very many people back there. And you don't even have a back door. So anyway, you, I believe, have our 2023 annual report. So we won't go over that. You know, that's just a summary of what we've done in the past year. The Bitter Creek drop structure still remains one of our biggest, most challenging problems. It's just starting to dry out enough out there where we can actually get to the site now. We have the contractors that are ready to go to come and complete the assessment to let us know what their recommendations are to be able to establish that facility where it's gonna work. The water flow over the structure is still too high to be able to get to access underneath it and stuff. So they'll be working on that shortly. We're also working with the NRCS and local businesses for assistance, assisting residents to grow some of their own food. The NRCS has a new program. It's part of the EQIP program, EQIP funding, but they're calling it the Act Now program. It takes, you don't have to wait for long deadlines and stuff. Or the EQIP program is normally you submit a project and they review them all in October and once a year and stuff. But this is a new program that they're doing, and there's time limits. They try to get everything done and their review in 30 days, and you can be working on your project in probably 60 days. So we're working on that. We communicated considerable with the BLM and the CLG regarding the Rock Springs BLM's RMP. We're working with the Chamber of Commerce in Rock Springs and their enterprise committee to attempt to get some additional funding. We're also communicating with the Wyoming House of Representatives for the possibility of some state funding of conservation districts, similar to what they do with the weed and pest. I know the weed and pest gets some funds from you, and some of it does come from the senior or from the state. And they've told me that they will be reviewing the way they fund this weed and pest and see if they can fit the conservation district fundings for statewide into that a similar funding program. We're applying for the Wyoming Department of Ag Water Quality Group grant. I think that's $20,000. We have a local work group coming up. That meeting is on the 2nd of May. It starts at 3 p.m. And that's at the Conservation District over here. And we have the Bitter Creek, Kilpatrick Creek watershed assessment meeting at the White Mountain Library in Rock Springs, and that is on the 14th of May at 10 o'clock. We'd like to have you, we'll be discussing, have reports on the water quality monitoring in the Bitter Creek. Our contractor that's been doing the water quality monitoring for several years will be there and give a presentation on what the current status is. And that's all I've got on my notes, and I can turn the time over to Stephanie Anderson.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to report. Commissioner Toman may have shared with you that I'm now the alternate executive committee representative for the conservation districts on the Wyoming Landscape Coordination, or excuse me, Conservation Initiative. And I've attended several local project development team meetings and several of the meetings with the coordination team. Currently, and you may be aware, the BLM's coordination position is vacant. They are going to fly the position, but it will be filled and placed in Cheyenne. And so there is a concern that there may be some disconnect between the funds for WLCI and the actual projects out in southwestern Wyoming. So it's been my goal to up the communication with the coordination team and with USGS. I feel it's very important to continue the collaboration because we get ideas from other conservation districts, Trout Unlimited, Muley Fanatics, et cetera, and they are pointing us to where we could probably get fundies for things such as the Bitter Creek drop structure. I know WLCI gave $500,000 in the beginning to start that project, and obviously it's still on our radar. So we're going to need to find funds, and that's what I intend to do with this. The other thing that I would like to address was attending the meeting with Commissioner Richards and Commissioner Slaughter. And there was some pretty intense discussion at that, and people did share their concerns on safety. After the meeting was over, I did talk to Commissioner Richards about his next steps and if he was considering a working group or maybe a subcommittee or something. And I would support anything like that. I'd be very willing to actively involve myself in that. And hopefully the Conservation District can support you in your efforts. Our big concern is after 2 years, phase 3, when the money that has been set aside is already spent, what's going to happen in 3 years? So I'd like to have a committee pull together so we can have a plan to say if some of you commissioners decide not to run again, that we have something in place to continue to fund that and keep focus on it. And I'd be willing to help finding funds. I did find something that I believe Harriet Hagman got $3 million for a county road up in Sheridan County, and it was through the Congress's community project funds. So I have a few other places that I possibly could find funding. I know you have a very active grants person who does that, but I could send that information to Gene Legursky, or if Island would like me to, excuse me, Commissioner Richards would like me to send it to him. I'd be willing to do that, whatever would suit them. But thank you for helping us, the Conservation District. It's really important and we want to keep things going, and we are actively trying to find other funds.
Just clarify, you're talking about County Road 1.
Yes, I am, Mary Toman. Thank you, Commissioner Toman. Sorry about that.
Thanks, Tom and Stephanie, for the update and the report. I'll open up for any comments, commissioners. What's the status with the drop structure? I know last year you were saying that you were having issues with it and it was, I think, undercutting all the work that was previously done. Can you give us a brief update on where that's at or the status of that?
The structure is affected by water. It gets into the shale upstream, and it's coming underneath, not surface water, but it's coming underneath in the shale, underneath the structure, and it's eroding all the material underneath the structure. And they're trying to get where they can run a camera down in there and evaluate what can be done to fix that. I have some pictures of that project before we started. I think these pictures were in 2009. So it's been and the old structure that was there, you can see it's about a 20-foot drop where that, but it's gone now, but that structure was about 20 feet high. And you can see all those layers of that shale, and the water's coming through that shale. It's not surface water, it's like spring water that's underneath. The surface is dry, but there's water discussion out of that strata underneath. And they're trying to figure a way to stop that. I know on the original project, they were going to put some sheet pilings. I don't recall, I think they were 6 feet. I'm not sure exactly how deep they went in, but in those old pictures, you can see water coming through the shale further deeper than 6 feet. And I personally don't know how they're going to be able to get that stopped. I think they have to figure a way to control it. And instead of trying to, I'm not an engineer, by the way, just my experience with water, it's pretty hard to control where it goes. It goes where it wants to go. And with that water that's underneath in the shale, you're not going to be able, in my opinion, be able to get that to the surface to come through a structure. You're going to have to divert it or manage it or let it come through that structure and let it go through the structure and contain the flow after it gets out, after it gets out in the open. And that's beyond my pay grade, figuring out how to do that.
So it's before the structure that the issue is.
Pardon?
So it's before the actual drop. I mean, I know they kind of redid the drop, but
Yeah,
that's the issue, and then it's
it's
seeping.
above that structure where the water's getting into the shale and then it's coming down.
Okay.
And they did, I think I told you last year that they expect that we had a $600,000 estimate on getting it fixed. That's significantly reduced now. I don't know what the numbers are. I heard one estimate about 250 or something like that, but I'm not exactly sure because we haven't got a final thing on what they're going to be able to try to do for it. That's what they're trying to wait until the water flow is still too high to get it on over the structure to be able to get underneath it and see what's going to have to happen.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Slaughter?
Stephanie, with respect to your questions on County Road 1 and where we are going to go from here, since that meeting, I have had a couple separate meetings with Gene Legursky on where we want to go with this. And what we have come up with is we will actually be having Gene and probably myself and Island discuss the meeting a little bit further in our May 7th meeting. And we're going to, at that point in time, I believe, present the idea of forming a working group with some citizens of your area, maybe a small working group, 3 or 4 or 5 people. I realize your concerns are with what takes place after we have done the major management, as you've said. I think some of the options that are within the analysis are not being fully understood. And so one of the things we would like to do is have those people go out and actually physically see what those road surfaces would be if we were going to move forward with something of that nature. And then once that is done, formulate a plan moving forward from that. So we will be discussing that at the May 7th meeting. You probably will want to have some people here for that discussion, and then we can move forward at that point in time. But that's what's come out of that meeting to this point.
Thank you very much. Very helpful.
Well, you might also, it's on our agenda today for the engineering contract.
That's just strictly for the engineering contract, though.
Right.
So.
But that's
it
part of
would
the
be outside of that.
process.
I'll attend that just to learn more. Thank you.
Any other feedback, commissioners? Well, thanks again for the update. We appreciate hearing from you, and we'll look forward to more conversations in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we would like to take anybody who wants to go out to the structure now that we can get out there. If you can call us or call me, And we'll try to get you out there so you can get a better understanding of what that thing's doing.
Very good. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Commissioners, we're about 25 minutes ahead of schedule. Don't believe we have any federal agency partners here at this time. So we're going to take another break and hope that some show up. That is supposed to be beginning at 11:25. Why don't we come back at 11:15 and we'll go from there. Take a quick break. All right, we'll go ahead and call this meeting back to order. We're almost caught up and on time here. So where we left off was item number 6 under tab C in the action and presentation items. Next on the agenda is the Sweetwater County Annual Federal Partners Update. The purpose of these annual meetings is for Sweetwater County and the federal land management agencies to exchange work programs, discuss items of mutual concern, and improve cooperator working relationships. So we're excited to hear from federal partners today. I don't have a list of those who confirmed. I don't know if you do, Commissioner Toman. I know you kind of head this up. So at this time, I'm going to hand it over to you if you're comfortable with that.
I know we have BLM, we have Ashley National Forest. We should have Rick Baxter from BOR. Oh, I see Katie Teeley from the Refuge. So those should be our 4.
We do have an hour slated. We've got a very stacked agenda, so our hope is to stay within that hour time frame. I guess, do we have any takers to go first?
Brian?
Come on up.
I don't want to follow Kimberly. So, all right. Hi there. I'm grateful to be before the commission today, and I've got a few updates from the Ashley National Forest. My name is Brian Wilson. I'm the district ranger for the Flaming Gorge recreation area here on the Ashley National Forest. And so we got a few things going on. We're gearing up for the summer rec, working on our water systems, the reservoirs, courtesy docks to get things ready. The end of this month, we'll be sending out our draft plan and EA for the Flaming Gorge National NRA plan. It'll be going out first to the cooperatives for you guys to review. Then we'll be sending out public several weeks after that. We're in the process of working on our campground prospectus for new management of our campgrounds. It's currently out to bid. The bid process closes May 1st. In regards to the Great American Outdoor Act funding, we've got projects selected. The chief of the forest reported the projects to Congress. Our selected projects are moving forward, and the 2 that we have that are in Wyoming are the Buckboard Rec Facility and the Hideout. We've got $3.7 million to work on water systems for those locations, and we're very excited about that. I'm currently underway on some design contracting. We applied for the Wyoming Outdoor Rec Grant, which was due on April 1st. We received letters of support from the mayor of Green River as well as some of the Sweetwater Commission, and we wanted to thank you for the support on that. Some of the projects that we were applying for money for was some 8 covered pavilions, 4 at the Firehole Swim Beach, 2 at the Buckboard Rec Facility, 1 at the Brenniger Boat Ramp, and 1 at the Anvil Boat Ramp. A couple other projects were fish cleaners for the Firehole, 1 at Firehole, 1 at Buckboard, and then a pump ahead, which is a floating restroom for the Buckboard Marina. Those were some of the projects that we applied for grant money for that would directly affect the Wyoming rec users. On the 4th of this month, we held an open house in Green River to explain the new forest plan and some of the, anyway, to explain the new forest plan. We're underway with the rock art project. We're protecting some pretty amazing petroglyphs in Wyoming. This is kind of right at the Manila, Wyoming border, but we've made it through the NEPA process on that. And we're working on ground layout for roads and trails at this time. And we're hoping to start the construction process this fall. So that we're excited about that. With some support from Commissioner Slaughter, we were able to secure a office in Green River. We're very excited about that. Currently, we're working on getting our phone lines and internet installed. We got some furniture in there. Right now, I'm in the process of trying to get some more admin staff, which will be able to have more hours there. But for right now, we're going to be available to communicate with the public on Wednesdays from 10 to 3 o'clock. Another big thing that got everybody's attention was the buckboard boundaries adjustment. We're going to be starting alternative solutions for that. And we'll be going EA process, and we're planning on public meetings probably around September. We put that off just a little bit because we wanted the Flaming Gorge plan to go out and then not to be combined as kind of, or seen as, perceived as the same thing with the community. So around September, we're going to be starting that process again. And something fun that we're kind of excited about is June 11th, we'll be doing a summer reading story time with the Green River Library. We'll have Smokey Bear and Woodsy Owl there, and that'll be on June 11th at 11 o'clock. The targeted age group for that is from 3 to 10 years old. So that's all. End of report. That's all I've got. Is there any questions that I can answer or try to answer?
Thanks, Brian. We appreciate you coming.
You're welcome.
Coming over today. Any questions or comments, commissioners? Can you elaborate on that? You spoke to the 3.7 million. I think you said, was it the water systems for buckboard, or can you
Yes.
explain what that is a little more?
Yes, so at the buckboard rec facility, on that facility, you've got all the Forest Service, the stuff that we manage, the restrooms, the pump ahead, the floating dock out there. We've got the campgrounds, and so looking at the records for the last 50 years, we've needed a new water system for that recreation facility. Currently, it's a seasonal system that we have in place, and currently it has a lot of problems, a lot of deferred maintenance. And so our goal, our vision is to improve recreation opportunities, to create more winter recreation for the Wyoming rec users. And so a year-round water system is what we're in the process of putting in there. So we received funding for that, Great American Outdoor funding. We've already started working with a design firm to get us a design, and we're very excited about that. The other location is Hideout, is also in need of a better water system. And so we're going to be putting in a new water system. So anything specifically I could add to that?
No, that was it. I was just
Okay.
curious.
Yeah.
Big project, sounds like.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's been needed for years. And we've been pushing for it, and we're making some headway. And so we're very excited about that. We have the opportunity to tap into the winter recreation. We're doing the burbot bashes, we're doing the Mac attacks, and the marinas are sponsoring these events, but there's an opportunity for us to really take things. Well, the sky's the limit, right? For what we could do for winter recreation. And we're hoping that this will be the start of that vision, maybe get a few group campsites there. But anyway.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Have you started yet? Have they started in construction yet?
No, right now we're working on, we've made it through all the NEPA, and we got that cleared with SHPO and our archaeology. And so right now we're working with engineering, and the regional level was pretty busy. So we're going out for contract for a design bid for that right now. And so that's where we're at right now is getting the design.
Okay.
So, yep.
Commissioner Slaughter?
Mr. Chairman, Brian.
Yes, sir.
Maybe getting the cart ahead of the horse a little bit here, but I know this is such a hotbed topic.
Yes.
The boundary reassignment for buckboard.
Yeah.
As you move forward with the EA process, have you got a projected starting point of what you're going to do with those boundaries at this point in time? Or are you going to look at potentially where you were to start with and then move off of that with public feedback, but potentially, or just wonder where you're at, because I know I'm going to start getting a lot of questions about that as we move forward.
Yes, and we're looking at alternatives now. When we first we put it out first time as a CE, which it got a lot of attention, and there was a lot of comments. And after reading through the comments from the commission, the community, we knew that we needed to come back with some alternatives. And so that's our focus now. And part of the meetings with the community is to let people know too. We're looking at some alternative solutions to resolving this. We do have some ideas, but we're hoping to to discuss those more in September with everybody.
September's the-
Yeah,
the Key. Okay, yeah, well, that'll be good to know. Thank you.
thank you.
Maybe
Tillman?
go to the Zoom. Katie Teely, are you the one for the Seaskiddy National Wildlife Refuge, or do you have a partner?
Thanks, Brian. She just takes over. It's okay.
You said I was to take over.
Yes, yep, I'm here to do Seed Skiddy's presentation.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, may she go ahead?
Where's yours, Commissioner?
I gotta get my gavel out
Yes,
here.
morning. How are you, Katie?
I do have an alternate gavel. Katie.
All right, well, I will try and figure out how to share my screen here. I've never done this before, so bear with me. Did that work? Are you able to see my presentation?
We're
No,
not.
You're not. Okay.
Tom was in person last year and his stick wouldn't work either.
That's kind of what I was worried about here. I kind of wondered if, yeah, the stick would even work. Okay. How about now?
Here we go. Yep.
Okay. So let's see if I can put this from the beginning. And I might have got carried away with slides. So some of these I might just flip through kind of quick. Let's see. Is it in the presentation mode or is it still just in the PowerPoint?
I think if you click that button, we'll be good.
Okay.
Yep, there we go.
All right. Well, yeah. Yeah, I appreciate the invite and like I'm sure Commissioner Toman mentioned that that you're familiar with Tom. He usually would be here given this presentation, but he recently retired. So I'm just filling in today. We're hoping to have somebody on board by this fall. Keely Lopez out of our Arapahoe National Wildlife Refuge office is acting until we do get someone on permanently. But I've been with Seed Skiddy for the last 12 years, just as refuge manager for Seed Skiddy and Cokeville Meadows. But we're just one piece of the puzzle in our big complex. Probably about 7 years ago, they lumped us all together with Arapahoe National Wildlife Refuge in northern Colorado, 4 refuges over on the Laramie Plains, and then Pathfinder, which is up by Casper. So we've got about 8 staff between all of the refuges. Most of them are at Seed Skiddy. We've got 2 folks down at Arapahoe. But I think the plan is when one of our maintenance position retires, that position's going to get moved down to Arapahoe. So we're looking at seeing some reductions in staff, I guess. But yeah, the primary purposes of Seed Skiddy were habitat mitigation for Fontenelle and Flaming Gorge dams. We're to conserve and manage fisheries and wildlife resources and habitats on the refuge, and also to protect scenery and cultural resources and to provide for wildlife dependent public uses. So part of that is habitat mitigation. We're seeing a lot of our cottonwoods are aging out and not being replaced. So the way that we've kind of been addressing that is with some side channel projects. With the ice jams and flows tend to plug some of these side channels off either at the top or the bottom, and then they silt in. So we've gone into a number of them and kind of cleaned them out with heavy equipment. And that provides juvenile fisheries habitat, recharges the groundwater, helps to get water to those cottonwoods and willows too. And we partnered with Wyoming Trout Unlimited and Game and Fish Department on it. And then, of course, anything that we're disturbing too, we're reseeding behind to keep down the weeds and then just, increase pollinator habitat. We do see quite a number of monarch butterflies out here on the refuge later in the summer. And we try and do a little bit of milkweed seed harvest ourselves too. That milkweed seed can be up to $350 a pound. So that's something that really benefits us. So one of the other ways that we've tried to address that the cottonwood and willow regeneration issue is just by different planting methods. So one of the most recent ones that we did was pole plantings and tree tubes. And that was kind of a limited success. So we've scaled back a little bit from that and just are kind of on hold. We're doing smaller scale plantings just with partners like Game and Fish, Trout Unlimited, and some of the school groups have come out and just helped us do willow plantings. And then we're also seeing, I think it's just been the right combination of wet years and things, but some natural regeneration of the willows right along the banks has really helped out. So those willows help stabilize the banks. You get less bank erosion and better water quality with more willows. And so and then of course the cottonwoods are real important to the nesting bald eagles and any other raptors, owls, and birds of prey like great blue herons. And the bald eagles benefit from our fisheries improvements as well. We do a lot of wetland management too. The wetlands are part of the habitat mitigation. And we see large numbers of waterfowl and different water birds on them in the spring as they're migrating through, and a number of them will stay and nest as well. And then in the later summer, sage-grouse broods will come down into those wet areas. Those young sage-grouse are feeding on the insects and the forbs down there. And one of the ways that we maintain those shallow wetlands is through a prescribed grazing program. We do winter grazing on that. And this year, we're hoping to implement a virtual fence project where we're going to eliminate a bunch of electric fencing and attempt to use some virtual fence on it. So that's kind of an exciting project that we've got coming up. And then just part of maintaining our habitat is making sure that we're watching out for invasive species. We do focus in on the species that are not well established that we can eradicate, like Phragmites, leafy spurge, Russian knapweed, cheatgrass is another one that we're paying a lot more attention to. I think we recently did some refuge-wide mapping from some satellite imagery to get a good overview of what our cheatgrass situation looks like. And we're working with Sweetwater County Weed and Pest to possibly look at doing some large-scale treatments here in the next couple of years. And I think we might be applying for some additional bill funding to tackle that too. And then just kind of going back and a general overview, because it really does seem like some of the maintenance just ends up tying us up for a lot of the year. You know, we've got around 50 miles of roads that we maintain, close to 100 miles of fence, 18 water gaps, a number of miles of ditches and water control structures that help maintain our wetland units. And then just the buildings. And, you know, a lot of this all goes without saying, but yeah, keeping internet and phones going and water systems running really does take people and a lot of time. So, but yeah, some of the funner stuff that we do get to help out with is we partner with Wyoming Game and Fish Department and the Wyoming Wetland Society, Bill Long. We've worked with them to do some GPS collaring of the trumpeter swans to find out where they're migrating to and from and spending some of their time, you know, when they're not on the refuge. So the refuge was a key piece to help reestablish trumpeter swans in southwestern Wyoming. Back in the early 90s, they released the first pairs down here from Red Rock Lakes up in Montana. And from having no swans back in the early 90s, now we've got around 5 to 9 nesting pairs. And we produce anywhere from 12 to 18 young each year. And then also in the winter, our swan population swells to around 300 that come and winter here just because of that open water where we're right below Fontenelle Dam. So our biologist also, he makes it a priority to help band mourning doves too. And that helps provide some population data, which is necessary to set seasons and limits on the hunting season for that species. One of the other purposes for Seed Skitty, which is a little unusual for as far as refuges go, is to protect the scenery and cultural resources. But when Congress recognized, even back in the 60s, when the area was pretty wide open and undeveloped, that it was important to protect the scenery and cultural resources here. And of course, we get a lot of folks coming out to the visitor center, and you hear, you know, oh, it's just boring sagebrush out there. Get a lot of people on their way to Jackson or Yellowstone, and how can you live out there? And the county's tourism efforts have done well to not target those folks. And, you know, people and families looking for their own adventure can find it out here. And it can look a little rough in the hard light of midday, but you know, under the right light, it can provide great views. And when you look kind of closer, we've got quite a bit of wildlife as well out here. So along the river, of course, wildlife or water in a desert can be a wildlife magnet. Year round, we have waterfowl on the river, especially with the dam up above us, keeping a big section of that river open. So we get waterfowl hunters out here in the winter. And then our cultural resources, all of the historic trails that go through here, and as well as the homesteads and some of the bridges that are still standing and some that are not. And we can't necessarily actively maintain those, but still we try to provide the signage and brochures to help people kind of connect to that history. We're currently partnering with the museum on a new display for the visitor center and kind of working through a redesign of our historical brochure and putting our expanded text onto the website as well. So one of the other aspects of our purpose is to provide for the wildlife dependent public uses. So kayaking is a big one, floating the river. You know, people can't water ski, jet ski, paraglide out here, but boating and fishing are compatible. Wildlife observation and photography, non-consumptive uses. It's a great place where you can come float the river and see a moose and just enjoy the peace and quiet out here. So we do have some commercial fishing outfitters. They pay a fee, and then we use those fees to provide different things. Like we put some rental toilets up at 2 different boat launches. We've updated signage, printed brochures with that. And then we've also, I think Tom worked on this, but partnered with the county travel and tourism and included the refuge as a destination for Sweetwater County. And then we continue to provide and welcome school groups out here for field trips. Month of May, it can be a little crazy. We get 200 to 700 students coming through the visitor center. And we're always looking for volunteers. So if anybody's interested, let me know. And then we just are trying to help our partners facilitate some great projects, like with Trout Unlimited. They've worked with county tourism on various women's and youth floats. Project Healing Waters, taking disabled vets down the river through TU and local guides. And then, yeah, the refuge provides many hunting and fishing opportunities. And a lot of people are surprised you can hunt a wildlife refuge, but we're open for waterfowl, deer, elk, moose, and grouse hunting. So we'd like to be seen as an asset to the county and be able to partner where we can. And just, yep, here's my contact information and Keely Lopez, who's acting for Tom until we get somebody on full time. And yeah, again, thank you for the invite. But any questions, I guess?
Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of quick ones just popped into my mind. So when you're going through your statistics, how many miles of river are you planting the trees in and whatnot?
So we have 36 river miles through the whole refuge. And we just plant small sections. So like last year, I think we maybe did like a 1/4 mile of the river. We were able to do some willow and cottonwood plantings.
Thank you. And then what's a virtual fence? Maybe everybody else knows, but I don't.
I was gonna ask, but I was scared.
You know, as I was putting this together, I kind of was thinking, I feel like I need better pictures, but we don't have any pictures yet since we haven't done it. But what it is it's the cattle will have collars, and the collars are kind of similar to like those invisible fences that people can get for pets, where there's like a warning signal or a whether it's a tone or a vibration that warns them when they get close to the edge of the boundary, and then it'll deliver a shock if they cross over. And so in theory, it'll eliminate some of that permanent fencing or electric fence, and hopefully keep the stock where or majority of the stock where they need to be.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate the
As
presentation.
soon as you get one of those in, I'll take it to the meeting so that we can try it out on them.
That sounds good. That'll be exciting.
I think we only need one though, and we need to be specific who that person's gonna be.
Any other feedback, commissioners?
Thanks, Katie.
Okay, yep.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you
for the
for your time.
presentation and the information and for joining us today. Very informative.
Yep. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Chairman. Yep.
Thank you.
It's all yours,
Check and see
Commissioner.
if is the Bureau of Rec on there? Is anyone from Bureau of Rec on the Zoom? All right, Kimberly, BLM is up. Looks like your partners are on Zoom. Are they going to join you or just listening or? Okay.
Good morning. I'm Frank Keeler. I'm the acting High Desert District Manager. With me today, of course, is Kimberly, and we have Tim Novotny out of Rollins, and Adam George, I believe, is on
Yes.
up the district. So I'll turn it over to Kimberly.
Do I need to do anything to share this from this screen, or will it automatically when I hit presentation? Okay.
Just for the commissioner's edification, Frank Keeler, whom I never can recognize until I meet him 100 times, but he was their fire. What was your official title?
The Fire Management Officer for probably 13 years for the High Desert District. So
He worked with us a lot when we reorganized fire because they're a major player because of the federal land. So just want everybody to have that frame of reference if they have fire questions for you.
okay.
Thanks, Frank. And like Frank said, he's our acting district manager for the next few months. And everyone knows me. I'm Kimberly Foster. I'm the field manager for Rock Springs. And we just, this is part of our memorandum of understanding that we have with the county, that BLM does an annual presentation to kind of give you an update of what we're doing and what's happened in the last year. So I'll be covering the whole district, not just Rock Springs. Okay, you've seen this map before. In fact, this presentation is going to look kind of familiar. We just updated it from last year, but this is obviously all of the goldenrod yellow is the BLM. It's about 70% of Sweetwater County. BLM, of course, we always like to, when we do a presentation, just remind you that we do have a multiple use mission. Everything from land, we're the land managers, but we have all kinds of health, diversity, productivity, from oil and gas to renewable to grazing, wild horses, you name it. So we'll touch first on our oil and gas projects. Of course, we have all of the implementation projects that are going on. Some in our, those acronyms after each project is either the Rollins Field Office, the Pinedale, Rock Springs, or Kemmer Field Office. Those are the 4 offices in our district. Let's scoot that up, getting some feedback. This year we did add several CO2 sequestration projects in development, including the ExxonMobil Chute Creek disposal project in Kemmer. Kemmer and Rock Springs together are working on the Southwest Wyoming carbon sequestration. That's the Tallgrass project that you may have heard from the Tallgrass Company. That's about 700,000 acres of potential carbon sequestration. That document is in development for the environmental assessment. And then Kemmer also has the Pore Space Sweetwater Storage Hub. That's the Frontier project, if you're familiar with that. So several projects. There's also a project in Rollins, but it's in Carbon County, so we didn't add it to this slide. We've got several renewable energy projects going, including several wind projects. You may know that we just kicked off the Jackalope Wind Project here in Rock Springs. That public comment period has been extended through May 2nd, so we're accepting public scoping comments on that. We're doing an environmental impact statement there. That's for a 600 megawatt wind project just south of I-80, south of the Jim Bridger power plant. And then we have a variety of projects. Some of those are in Carbon County, but we put them on there just as a reminder, since those are kind of the big wind projects that are going on in Southwest Wyoming and Southeast Wyoming. We have several wind testing sites. A lot of companies do some testing. We have multiple sites going on both in Rock Springs and Kemmer, where they put up meteorological towers and they monitor to determine if a wind project will be feasible. So we have several going on there. And then of course we We still have an application for Jim Bridger Solar. Sweetwater Solar, of course, is an implementation that was constructed in 2019. And Jim Bridger Solar is kind of revising their application. They didn't get, excuse me, all of the power use agreements with Rocky Mountain Power that they had hoped for. So they're revising their application to better fit that application. So then they'll be submitting it to us, but that is right by the Jim Bridger power plant. And of course, BLM does solid minerals as well. We have trona, uranium, and lithium. Those are all solid mineral projects that we have. Of course, Dry Creek Tona, most of you are familiar with, have been involved in that. That environmental impact statement is getting ready to go out to public for draft in the next couple of months. And then in the Kemmer field office, they also have the Project West. You've probably seen the company has been doing public meetings for that. And BLM's involvement is mainly an access issue there. The Project West mine itself is on private land. So that's ongoing. And then of course, we have some active uranium projects, including one in our Lander field office, but is in Sweetwater County, and that's the Sheep Mountain. Excuse me, I don't think John Elliott was able to be on with us today, but that's one of the projects that you all share with the Lander field office. And then we're still waiting. We mentioned last year that Prime Lithium had come in with a proposed lithium mining proposal that would be through wells. They mine through wells. But so far, we haven't really seen an application for that. They did file a mining claim. Excuse me, lithium is a locatable mineral, so it falls under the 1872 Mining Act. So you do have to file a mining claim just like you would for gold or silver or something like that. So they have filed their mining claim. They're working through that. And then once that gets resolved, they'll probably do an application for the actual development of a mine. We'll see if we get that. Still working through several infrastructure projects, including Gateway West. Gateway West has been constructed to Jim Bridger from the Anacline substation. And then the D3 line, that's the Rock Springs and Kemmer line that will go right through the heart of Rock Springs and into Kemmer and then eventually into Idaho. That is slated for construction in 2025. So you might see this summer, you might see some folks out doing some pre-construction survey and that type of thing. That was, that's been delayed several times, so we'll see, but that's their current construction timeline. And then Transwest Express is currently ongoing. That's not actually in the Rock Springs field office, but it does cross down from our Rollins field office through the Bags area. And then Rollins just approved last month the Rock Creek Wind Energy Transmission Line, a short transmission line that's part of those wind energy projects that are going on over there. So that's kind of what's going on infrastructure wise. And then Rollins is also processing the Seminole Pump Storage Project. That's a hydro project. And the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission is the lead for that. That's been ongoing for several years, but some of you might be involved. Land use planning has been a hot topic. For our Rollins, Kemmer, Pinedale, and Lander offices, they continue to work on their 5-year evaluations. They've either completed them or are just kicking them off like Kemmer. And then some of them are working on various travel management implementation strategies through that. And then, of course, unless you were living under a rock, you probably heard that the Rock Springs RMP revision was released in August of 2023. That was our draft environmental impact statement. And we had public meetings and did all of that. There was the governor's task force was created to address comments with that some of you participated in. And so we've been working through that. As you may have heard, we received over 35,000 plus comments that we've been going through, and that has resulted in, excuse me, about 4,000 individual unique substantive comments that we're working through. We'll be addressing those comments in the EIS document, and it is still our plan to release the final environmental impact statement in the summer of this year. With the goal that once we release the final EIS, that will kick off a 60-day protest period and a 60-day governor's consistency review. And then we will follow that up with a record of decision, hopefully later this calendar year. So that is still the current plan as we work through that. And then, of course, last May, in May of 23, we issued a record of decision for the Wild Horse RMP amendment for both Rollins and Rock Springs. That was for all of our checkerboard herd management areas to resolve ongoing litigation that we had with the Rock Springs Grazing Association. And then, of course, that record of decision was challenged. We have 4 separate challenges to that. So we have 4 cases going on. 3 of them have been combined. So we actually have 2 different cases. And that litigation is ongoing. We're getting ready to do oral arguments in the next month for those cases. But that record of decision is in full force and effect. And so we do have a gather planned, which I have later on in a slide for later this year in response to that. We want to talk a little bit about fuels management in the area because that's we have lots of projects going on, including the Iron Mountain juniper treatment, where we've partnered with several partners, including the Muley Fanatics, Game and Fish. And we've done, you may have seen this winter, we did some pile burning right around Christmas when we had some snow on the ground to do those juniper piles that had piled up. And then we've also been working on the Rock Springs cheatgrass chemical treatment, partnering with the county weed and pest to continue to treat our cheatgrass problem. And some of these fuels project we wanted to point out did receive some the bipartisan infrastructure law funding, that we call it the bill funding, for both last year and then this fiscal year as well. So those projects will be ongoing this year. Oops, what's happening? And we didn't have a very big fire year at all. In fact, we only had 29 incidents within the county. That was for all agencies, not just BLM. So it was last year was a little tiny year for us. Only 16 total acres burned. And we didn't have any that are considered large fires. So, will that be different this year? It depends on who you ask. We'll see. Hopefully not, but we'll see. And then just a recount of our fuels treatments. We've been doing mechanical, chemical, and prescribed fire for fuels treatments to help prevent those catastrophic wildfires. I mentioned already, we do have a White Mountain herd management area gather for wild horses planned in August. We completed public comment for that in March, and we're getting ready to issue a decision there. We're planning to remove about 586 wild horses. And then Northlander is on schedule to do their big gather for the complex that they have with the various HMAs there. And I don't have the number written here, but it's several thousand horses, close to 3,000, I believe. And that is planned for October of this year. And then, of course, I wanted to mention our wild horse facility that we have in Rock Springs. We continue to hold horses there. They're getting ready for our gather, the horses that we'll be gathering from White Mountain. And then, of course, the Northlander gather, they'll be taking some of those. For, our total capacity there is about 800, so they won't be able to take all of the horses, but they'll take a lot and process most of them. And then we have an upcoming adoption event on the 27th of this month. Is our big adoption event in Rock Springs. And then we always take adoption appointments on Thursdays and Fridays throughout the year. And I did want to mention WLCI. Some of you may know that the coordinator for WLCI position has moved to Cheyenne. That position has moved to Cheyenne, although it's vacant. But we're still, obviously WLCI is in Southwest Wyoming, and so we'll still be participating from all of our field offices and, trying to help with those landscape scale projects, working with our partners and all of that. So our coordinator is going to be relocated to Cheyenne. And then I wanted to mention, we have our district and the state of Wyoming received for BLM, we got a little over $20 million, or right at 20 million, excuse me, it says 19.9, right at $20 million from the Inflation Reduction Act for restoration landscape projects. Now, neither of these projects is in the Rock Springs field office, but we wanted to mention them because you'll probably hear about them over the next several years. One of them is the LaBarge Watershed Project in the Pinedale field office, just to our north. And then the Muddy Creek project in the Rawlins field office. Both of those are large landscape scale projects that have, many, many little projects going on inside for restoration of those watersheds and various functions of that. And so 20 million was a lot of money for the Inflation Reduction Act, and a lot of states didn't get that much money. So we did, and it's split into 2 projects. So each of those is about a $10 million project. And so we are assisting with those as needed. they're getting a lot of attention. You'll see some visitors this summer as our secretary comes out to visit and some different things. So we just wanted to point those out in case those weren't on your radar. Although they're not in Sweetwater County, they do abut you. So that concludes kind of BLM, what's been going on this year in our district. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Kimberly and Frank and Tim and Adam. I think I got everyone there for coming over today and sharing all the work you've been up to. Feedback, commissioners. Commissioner Jones.
A couple questions. Thanks for the presentation. It answered a lot of my questions, so that helps. What's a normal number of fires for a year if 29 is low? I'm just curious. Don't think I've ever heard that number.
2012, I think we were at 70 fires within Sweetwater County.
Wow.
So 70 to 20, I'd say 40 fires should be about average.
Thanks.
And I think the year before we had 30, like 34, 36, and that was closer to average than last year.
Thank you. Then can you give us a feel on what alternative you're leaning towards in the RMP?
So as we stated, it is unlikely that we will select an alternative in its entirety. That's extremely unusual for BLM to do. Between draft and final, we almost always switch up pieces of it based on public comment, and we certainly have seen that comment come in. We're required at the draft stage under federal law to declare an alternative the agency's preferred, but it's extremely unlikely that we would carry that alternative all the way through. So will you see elements of all alternatives? Yes. Will you see elements of alternative B in the final alternative? Yes. Will it be in its entirety? No.
You have an opportunity to make a lot of people happy.
Will the cooperators see the administrative draft before it goes public?
Yes, that's our plan. We are getting enormous pressure from our administration to complete this document. We have a briefing later this week specifically to talk about progress on the document and where we're at and what the proposed RMP is starting to look like. And so we're getting some enormous pressure, but that is our plan, that we will, once we get kind of that, even if it's not ready for the public, like it's not ready to publish, that administrative piece, that we plan to share that with cooperators and do a meeting and kind of talk you through what we've done and go through some of the changes that we've made and that type of thing.
Well, that would be much appreciated. August 17th, when it went public, when we got informed after the fact, was not a pleasant experience, let me tell you. Also, do you still have contractors helping you sort through the comments?
We do not. We have not had contract support in well over a year. We're trying to get some. We did put it out for bid in January and we didn't get any takers. We didn't have any solicitations. It's been revamped. They've split the contract into pieces. And right now those are getting ready to go back out to help us with technical editing, the administrative record, and some of the other pieces that we have. But right now we don't have any contract support. We're doing it in-house.
And the last question, I saw a notice for petroglyphs. What's that about? Because I thought we covered that in the RMP.
It
so
is.
There wouldn't be separate ones.
Yeah, no. So what you saw was that just published was an extension of the public land order that withdraws the White Mountain petroglyphs. And that withdrawal is for locatable minerals. So, and that's been a withdrawal for, I can't remember when the first one was issued. The last one I think was 20-year extension. So I think it was even before that. But all that does is protect the petroglyph site from locatable mineral mining claims so that you can't, drill for, try for gold or something in that area.
And that's just the 20-acre White Mountain petroglyphs that is.
That's correct.
withdrawn.
And like I said, that was a public land order that had been issued, decades ago, and it was expiring. And so this is just the extension for it to continue, because we do want it. I mean, we still want the petroglyphs to be preserved, and we certainly don't want mining claims filed in that area for people for anything from gold and silver, diamond, all the hard rock minerals. I don't know that they're there, but someone might try, and we don't want the petroglyphs to be disturbed by that. So we put that entire administrative site under withdrawal so that no mining claims will be accepted in that area.
And I think Commissioner Jones has a hard question to ask you. The final decision, according to the BLM director, is to come from you and the state director, right?
That is what she said, yes.
Without incriminating yourself.
Yeah, so ultimately how the delegation works for for a resource management plan. I, as the local official line officer, I am the recommending official, and then the state director will be the signing official. But we don't exactly operate in a vacuum.
Yeah.
So, but it will be the state director who signs the resource management plan.
Okay. I am on the BLM Resource Advisory Committee. We're having a Wild Horse Subcommittee meeting on the 25th, and we had to move our regular, first time we've met in 7 years, I believe. We'll have our next regular BLM Resource Advisory Committee meeting sometime in June. They didn't get the 60-day approval from DC to have it in April as we desired. WLCI, Stephanie and I are both alternates on the executive committee for the commissioners and the conservation districts. I was chairman of that 2 years, and I've been on it since the beginning of time.
Yeah, and they're moving that the coordinator position has always been located in Rock Springs, but it's really more the executive level, the state director level who sits on that and kind of guides that. And so that's one of the reasons they're going to move that position to Cheyenne so that it operates out of the state office instead of the district office.
And through their local project committee meetings around the area, they develop projects and help fund them. They leverage the money, as you saw on the slide, $6, 6 to 1. That's the big role that has helped with the Bitter Creek project and a lot of projects with the conservation district. That's part of the conservation district's role, is to have matching funds to be able to be eligible for other partnering projects. I just say that for my fellow commissioners.
Their feedback, commissioners?
Could we get your PowerPoints, all of you?
Absolutely.
Katie, BLM, and Forrest, Forrest, you didn't have PowerPoint, right? Thank you. That'd be, if you could make sure that Sally gets that so we can get it.
Well, thanks, Kimberly and team, for coming over today. We appreciate that. I know this last year has certainly been interesting for the BLM, and I know as a cooperator, we've had very, I guess, political opinions on the process with the RMP, and hoping that we can, reestablish a working relationship. So anything moving forward with this record of decision, we certainly appreciate being involved with, and together, I know it's not easy on your guys' standpoint either, but I think it was all kind of a blow for everyone, as we learned last August. So, you got a lot going on in that office based off that presentation. We're aware of that. So anything we can do to improve that relationship, we're certainly open to. So
The good part is, as bad as it was, alternative B, the public now knows what a BLM RMP is.
That's right.
I guarantee no one understood what NEPA stood for, let alone the process it was that came
Some
with
of
that,
my
myself included.
They got the crash course. I tried to give them the mini course and they got the crash course.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Mr. Tillman, is that everyone? Do we have anyone else from the federal partners?
There's a Megan up there. I don't know who that is. Is that one of yours, Kimberly? There's a Megan on Zoom. Is it a public member or someone who needs to speak? Okay.
Megan, can you, there you are.
This is Megan Howdeshell. I'm outside counsel for Pacific Soda. I just wanted to hear the federal update.
Oh,
So I've
okay.
just
Oh.
stayed on the meeting
Okay.
and appreciate the ability to hear all those updates.
Thank you for joining.
I
guess-
believe that concludes the presentations for the annual federal partners update. So thanks to those that logged in or showed up in attendance today to keep us informed on all the good things happening in Sweetwater. We look forward to it, and anything comes up between now and then, we'll keep that communication open, hopefully, and try and attack these issues together. So thanks very much, everyone, and thanks for Commissioner Toman to getting the invitations out there to,
And Sally.
and
Sally
Sally.
does the hard work.
That's a fact.
Thank you so much for coming, though. We really appreciate it.
We're a little bit ahead of schedule. Next on the agenda is lunch. So we're going to go ahead and break for that. The next item, Commissioners, is item number 8, which we will resume at 1:30 to discuss the approval of transfer funds between the ARPA coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery projects. So we will now break for lunch.